just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Jesus the video game.
Let's talk about it.
Full simulation. Why is that not a thing?
Crucifixion simulator. This is like trying to get the nail in the right spot. Tink. Oh, you missed. Operation. Game over.
And like, so you can play Jesus and try and get away.
Right.
And there's
or you can be Judas.
Or Jesus is like, you know what? I've just spent a good portion of a human lifetime hanging around these people, and I don't want to die for them anymore. I'm good. I'd like a mulligan on this whole crucifixion thing.
And it comes to the spear of destiny, and you go in to stab him, and chink, you hit a rib, and breaks your knife, and you got to start all over.
Operation.
Yeah. You punctured Jesus's lung. Game over.
So you guys are probably wondering why we started this way. It's because Jeff kind of looks like the God of War from he's Kratos. Right, from the God of War games, and made us think like, how come there's not? They're similar to Jesus, you know, blah blah blah. But how come there's not a Jesus Christ game? Because Kratos has better games than Jesus, and we're like, that's got to change. So Grand Theft Jesus, or
there was.
I mean, that would work, I think. I mean, there's a lot of zombie games.
Mary Magdalene in the back of the temple, just the curtains rocking, and then you kill her for your money afterwards.
It's tithing.
Sorry, yes.
She's at
flip over her table.
She's at the top of her hotel, but the elevator's broken, so he's got to build stairs all the way up.
We got to start. Jesus has to start small.
Start every episode with sacrilege.
Again, no. The thing is that we live around so many Christians, and I find myself liking so many. So it's like
I'm really good friends with a lot of Christians.
Same. I have a couple friends. They send me messages after I do an episode of whatever my show is called, SKATCAST, and they'll be like, I really liked this week's episode, but please stop shitting on my personal beliefs. It's like, sorry.
P.S. I'm praying for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
I kind of wondered, is my dad and I have never really, I haven't like brought it, like, hey Dad, are you listening to my podcast?
Right.
You know, but then, so I've kind of just wondered in the back of my head, I wonder if my dad actually listens to me being a buffoon on here once in a while. And then like literally the morning of last Friday's episode, he sends me a message. He's like, who's this guy that you guys were shitting on for not wanting, you shouldn't have him working and stuff. And I was like, oh, he's listening like the day of. All right. So cool.
Incidentally, my dad, he's been so occupied, he hasn't had an opportunity to even listen to the last two shows.
The poo in the britches story.
Yeah, he has been pretty occupied. My dad doesn't listen to our show, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not.
Anyway, so
maybe
moving
one
on.
day. Way to bring down the mood.
Boo.
You know,
so
okay, there might not be a good Jesus video game, but there is a good Moses video game for original
cross
Nintendo.
A lot of rivers or what?
Original Nintendo. It's
Stuck
like
in the desert.
I don't remember what it was called, but I played the shit out of it when I was a kid, and it's actually really good. Like, it's just like a side scroller, you know, 8-bit fucking but it played
like
the,
Castlevania kind of thing.
The theme music for it was Father Abraham, like
Really?
And many sons had Father Abraham. You guys are looking at me like we don't know that.
We didn't go to
song,
church like you did. Father wasn't a preacher man.
Somebody out there knows it, and now it's going to be in their head for fucking months.
My mom knows it, and she's disappointed in me from heaven. She's like, I sang that to you many times. How do you not know that?
I
wasn't paying attention.
That song is actually really fucking dumb. Like, no, seriously, the words of it are Father Abraham had many sons, and many sons had Father Abraham. I'm like, okay, like not literally, but they had him in their life. Like, yeah, like, and then it goes, I am one of them, and so are you. So let's all praise the Lord. I'm like, what? Who wrote this?
That's
peak lyrics right there.
No Pulitzer Prize for that.
The game was good. I think it was called Exodus.
So like, really, what did you just like wander around in the desert and then like you walk by people and they join your little crew, and then you tried to keep them from killing you?
Like, you had to like break open the rock to get the water out of it, and like there was like stones that would fall on you if you moved the wrong thing, and you were in the desert.
And then you eat mushrooms, and then a burning bush talks to you. Wait, no,
that was the real story.
There was another good game, Dante's Inferno. They made a game. Did you ever play that? I never played that, but it looked kind of interesting.
I just assumed it was after the movie.
Wow. The books, bro.
He knows that.
Speaking of Jesus and
first-person shooter Jesus. No? Okay.
Passion of the Christ. I remember I went to go see Passion of the Christ and went back to work. And
how many people walked out of the theater when you went to see it?
I don't know. My eyes were closed. Honestly.
You slept.
It was terrible.
It was one of the greatest movie experiences of people's lives.
My buddy, I met him at the gym and told him I watched the movie. He's like, how was it? I'm like, it was better than the book.
That's true. It was easier to
true. Yeah, it was a lot easier to digest.
It was a little. It was kind of an edgelord movie. You know,
I liked it. Actually, I'm being sarcastic.
I mean, it was like cinematically, it was well done, but I was just like, it felt overdone to me. It's like, okay,
let's make the devil really
let's
weird,
just
like
go
Voldemort.
Like, let's just go way over the top on the feelings portion of it. And I was like,
well, that's it.
Okay.
It was.
I guess that was the point.
That was kind of why I liked it, because
it
was just so much. It was
kind of a snuff film, but because it was about, the Lord, it's okay. But it was like, God, that's a lot of torture. Like, a bunch of kids went to that movie and were like, okay, we're really cool to each other. And they're like, no, that's actually a god. And like, okay, looks like Tim down the street. He's got abs like that, and he walks around when he's mowing the lawn.
Yeah, he's a carpenter too. Weird. Those kids were just forever scarred. They're like walking to school the next day to catch the bus, and they see Tim working in his garage, and he's like, hello, children. And they're just like, we're coming for you next.
He's got a weird hat on that looks too
oh my
close
God,
to
he really did rise in 3 days. Here he is.
He's mowing my lawn too. He's a nice man.
He's back.
He was a nice man. Why do that to him? So in case you guys don't know, this is episode 22 of Jar.
Hell yeah.
And I'm the P-Bah.
I'm the Pooh-Bah.
And I'm the Bear Bah.
We have names.
Wow.
We all know our names and shit. And today, I believe, is the Black Friday episode. So
and we are coming up on that time of year.
And we're out at 6 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, the Pacific Standard Time. So
the best standard time.
That's right.
So
some of you are
already up, standing in line.
Yeah, some of you might be in line. So Godspeed, cunts. We hope you get the TV
hope
that
you get in
wanted.
a fight over a $13 printer.
Right. And Dave and Angus, they have their show. He's given the advice to do, it's wet noodles is what it's called. And just if you get in a space with a bunch of people, you just flap them arms. It's not really your fault. It's Black Friday. Yeah. Just be like, sorry, Black Friday. Black Friday. Sorry, Black Friday.
Well, and the other thing is, understand, it's not always...
I just put
if you're going to be in a fight, hit first. Okay.
All right.
I'm just saying.
If you're going to be in a fight, hit first.
If you're going to hit first, and then run and hide in the crowd.
Good fight is a short fight.
There's too many cameras at Walmart for that. That's right. They'll be like, he did that for the TV. We saw him do it. But all right. So how do you guys, have you ever done a Black Friday? Have you ever been on the... And have you ever been in customer service, or have you ever been to the store and been a part of the madness?
Honestly, I think I went to a Walmart once years ago, but it was not overly memorable. It seems familiar.
It wasn't clawing and biting and shit.
But I would avoid that shit. I had to go to that shit a lot while I was working.
That's okay.
Yeah, a lot.
Gimme. Some there's got to be
people being cunts to each other.
All right. Well, I can picture that. Give me some details. Did anybody eat anyone?
No.
Anybody abandon the baby for the TV?
People just fighting in line. Literally, physical fights over who might have taken cuts and.
Taking cuts, man.
Or people go out there and they just bitch and whine.
We never do grow up.
No.
It's always just little kids, but like just a little more supervision when you're young.
I was a babysitter for adults for 27 years. A glamorized babysitter.
Did you guys ever watch the South Park specials on Black Friday?
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
So good. They were doing it like, I think it's been a long time, but I feel like they did it like, because Game of Thrones was super popular at the time. I think they did it Game of Thrones, like it was like all the characters in the show were like parallels of characters from Game of Thrones, but they were all like stuck in a shopping mall where people were just killing each other for stuff.
That is it.
But
I worked retail. Yeah,
I worked retail. I've never participated as a civilian
because you worked retail.
Yeah,
like, no.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
I don't want to be the
Cyber
Bane.
Monday, dude. I'll just stay at home in my PJs and get some cheap electronics. That's my jam.
But I think I don't really care about shit enough to rush out and get something.
Yeah, but $200 for a 75-foot or 75-inch TV, it's like, that is kind of tempting. Like, I'll punch a baby for that. Why not?
It's one of those things where it's like you have to do a risk-reward assessment on it. And it's like, okay, the amount of things that could go very poorly, the amount of time I have to spend being uncomfortable and around the general public, I would pay full retail price for that TV just to not have to deal that.
Mark it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys in particular, here I am, the one that's still like, no, go to the grocery store and check me out, and I'll willing to take the time, but I don't want to take the time to do that.
I don't want to take that much time.
Not that much time. So on here, I am on your guys' side of, okay,
let's get online.
Technology's kind of good.
And that's why context
when it's
is
convenient
king.
for me, I like it. When it's not, fuck it.
It's all about me.
Context.
More
well, I mean,
of
that's
me.
anybody's honest answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked in Best Buy for Black Friday, and they're like, if someone's in the store, you go and you greet them and you sell them something, right? That's normal day Best Buy operation.
Keep your hands away from their mouths.
Black Friday, they had literal like taped out squares on the floor all throughout the store, and that was your station. You stand there. And you don't move.
This is your island.
There,
if you
let
fall off
people
the island.
do the thing, answer questions, but you're just there you're directing traffic.
But here's the thing: you stand in that square and you don't have anything in your hands. They're going to expect you to follow them. But you grab a clipboard. It looks like you're supposed to be there, and they might ask you a question, but you can just point from there. Mm-hmm. Makes you look more professional.
Dude,
and you use your pen.
Don't say that. I got fired for not carrying a clipboard.
Oh, fun. I tried to give Michael a clipboard for our show. He's a good friend of the show here, and he's also a part of the Sovereign family. Michael Harding. I'll just throw his name out there. Yeah. And he's our stage manager forever now because he's good at it. And I tried to give him a clipboard as like a thing. It's like, you're a stage manager, here's your clipboard, and he's like, no, I don't need that. And I was like,
not doing that,
bro. But it's a rite of passage.
Man
he's
after
like,
my own heart.
Exactly.
Fuck that clipboard.
And I was like, you know what, contrarian, welcome to the family. As far as backstage, he's been part of the family for years.
I just thought of an idea for Black Friday this year. It would be kind of fun to go out because I assume that it's like herding cattle all through the stores to get them checked out. Wouldn't that be fun to just go fuck with the maze?
Send them to the bathroom and fucking out the back.
And have it end up going somewhere else or go back on itself.
Like, this is a lovely dumpster.
And it would take
one
people
door in the back
long
goes
time.
into a legit haunted house.
Like, you will definitely want to be in that line. That cashier will scare the shit out of you.
I think it would take people a long time to figure it out.
That'd be funny. Especially during a thing busy as Black Friday. That'd be
And
rad.
just go in there like you know what you're doing and just start moving people and just move shit around. Or just keep doing it.
You could have like a second story sky booth with all like levers that switch the walls and shit.
See how many times
Games,
you can
basically.
invade the line by moving all the barriers and get them all to shift around.
There are millions of
before
businesses.
they lose their shit.
There are millions of businesses. Somebody's had to have been like, let's fuck with it. Let's fuck with the line.
I think IKEA does that.
They
That
do.
would
You guys
be
ever
wor-
been through an IKEA?
No.
Yeah, you go through all of the dumb
You've
things
never
first.
been to an IKEA, Jeff? It's an experience worth having.
They did do that on purpose.
Yeah, they
Shit,
did.
I
they're
thought it
like-
was a fucking furniture store.
It
What
is.
it?
It is.
Just
But
they have meatballs
but it's
also.
an experience because the way
They
that
also have
IKEAs are laid out.
I know. It's a great business model. We've got chairs and meatballs. Chairs and meat.
A recliner, a lamp, and your finest meatballs.
And you put it all together
And I
yourself.
And I
including
don't want to
meatballs.
be able to pronounce any of the names of the things that I buy.
And it's like, how do you do a successful business? And they're like, we don't know. Look at
You
IKEA.
trap
It's-
people in the store. That's
Yeah.
how.
You make the store
the thing
all
with
mazed out.
IKEA. It's all mazed out, and once you're into it, the only way out. There's no going back. The only way out is to go all the way through.
Yeah.
And inevitably, you'll pass something and you go, oh fuck, yeah, I don't want one of those.
That's kind of how. I mean, Costco's not that constrictive, but it is kind of like
It is
if
similar.
you follow the pathway.
It's like,
you're like,
suggested at Costco, whereas IKEA, they're like they have like Swedish gentlemen behind you. They're like, no, you have to. You must go that way.
no meatballs unless you
Costco-
go this way.
I can get in and out of Costco really fast if
Right.
I go to the same Costco.
Yes.
But that is your motivation
Every
too. Is to
fucking
get the
where
fuck out of there.
Costco is different. They have no standardization of how they put their shit together, and it drives me nuts.
I know.
I went to
the one
North
in Coeur
Costco.
d'Alene, and I was like, what the heck? Where is everything?
Yeah.
It's just not where the dog food's supposed to
And
be.
the North Costco is twice as big, and they got more shit, but that's a longer time that I don't know. I'm not there to buy shit. I'm there to buy specific things. I need very specific stuff.
We want to think that Costco is like scientifically crafted each store to be just like right for the market. Everything smells right, and there's good music that makes you buy things, and the color's right. But really, they're like,
that's just
we bought this
Disneyland."
building. Yeah, we bought this building. Fuck, throw some shit up. They'll
Don't
find
get me
it.
wrong. Costco is really the only store besides Cabela's that I like to go to.
Right.
What was that one movie with Dane Cook where he was like fastest hands in the Midwest or whatever? He was like a cashier at like a Costco.
I can't remember.
But they had
Ashley Simpson
the,
was. Or,
it was a good movie, honestly,
was.
but they had that
That's the one with the
spot
goat
where
in
like
it.
they would
Sorry.
use the forklift to get up into
the
the
secret
upper
space
shelvings into the secret
and hang
hangout
out.
in
Oh.
between the boxes. I was like, dude, if somebody hasn't done that in real life, I quit.
they had to.
We had that when I worked at Sanderson Safety.
Fuck
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, we
Fuck
would
yeah.
go.
Secret beer room.
Yeah. Well,
You're
I
like,
had
we don't need a break room. We'll make our own.
I had
We're building a
forts
fort.
built in pallet. We had safety gloves and all that, and we had like pathways and forts built where we would sit back and just smoke cigarettes and chill out for a while.
Fuck yeah.
Have coffee in the morning, and we're supposed to be working.
I don't think
sticking on.
dudes ever grow out of the desire to build forts.
No.
Like literally ever.
No. I mean, that's
I know
what,
when I go out into the woods doing bushcraft stuff, my primary motivation is to go out and make a fort.
I am here to build shelter that is cool. Cooler each time.
It just makes me sound super fancy and manly when I'm like, I'm going out primitive camping, I'm doing bushcraft, and really what I'm doing is I'm going out to build a fort.
It's basically a pillow fort, but it's harder to make.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Black Friday. Happy Black Friday. I hope you guys all survive.
Yeah, don't be cunts. If you run into any cunts, out-cunt them, I guess.
Yes.
You know, because they drew first blood, not you.
Wet noodles.
Yeah, be safe.
Blame it on Black
Get
Friday.
something good. Show us your loot if you decide to brave the madness.
I'm going to go.
Are you going to go
around-
just to
move around
experience it?
belts? No, fuck.
I was going to say one of us should go out, go out and experience it, like get some video or something. And,
Nose goes.
all right. So happy Black Friday. Good luck to you. Godspeed, cunts. All right. Police story time. This is going to be
Police story.
bad boys, bad something. Tuffy is the trigger word for you. I don't know if trigger is the word right
triggered.
to use. I'm triggered too.
So I gotta kind of talk about the whole day. So I was working in Yakima Valley, and the agency that I work for at this time was a smaller agency. The chief had a pretty open door policy. This particular time, I was working swing shift, and which was 2 to midnight. Anyway, I went in to go visit the chief, just bullshit with him. I saw he had some boxes. We used to give out a lot of pencils and stickers and candy and, things to get the little kids to rat on their brothers, all the gang members and stuff. It worked out really good.
I'm sure.
So I thought we had a bunch of that stuff. So I started going through the boxes, and I saw that it was sheets, like bed sheets for the jail. So I picked them. I'm like, "Oh, chief, you
Here's
got
a little sheet
you got
for you.
cases and nooses." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah.
they're going to hang themselves." God damn it, Getchell.
Right?
God damn it, Bob.
Get out of my office. He got pissed.
Really?
Like, yeah, he kicked me out of my office. He thought I was being an asshole.
Beverly Hills cop or something.
Yeah.
Did a door break?
Now I go back to work, and I get a call. This guy, his name's Tuffy, and we dealt with him regularly being drunk. And he was Tuffy. He was a tough guy. He liked to fight all the time. You get a call on Tuffy, you're probably going to fight him. And I didn't say he was good at fighting. He just fought a lot.
Right.
Anyway, he had assaulted his, I think it was his sister, with a 2x4.
Yeesh.
Hit her in the head with a 2x4. So obviously you think you're going to
classy
fight.
guy.
I get there,
Classic
obviously.
Tuffy.
Obviously, I arrest him, and he didn't fight, which I thought was really weird. And then I get him down to the jail to book him in. It's after 5 o'clock at this time, so I don't have a jailer on, so I got to book him in myself. And usually he'll fight during the booking process. He didn't fight this time. In fact, he was cracking jokes and he's flexing. And
He's saving it.
yeah, I don't.
He's charging up his solar beam, bro.
So I take Tuffy back into the 4th jail cell. It's the only one that doesn't have a camera on it. But I let him be by himself.
The
so
Epstein
he didn't
cell.
have any problems. You're kind of going.
Every jail's got to have an Epstein cell.
It was definitely an Epstein cell. Sale. After I get him booked in, I go to another call, and it happened to be a guy who was smashing his girlfriend's windshield out with a baseball bat.
I thought that was going a different direction.
Damn,
I was like, that's a crime.
that's a way to put it, I guess.
Oh, and it's at, park.
Oh, well, fair.
Children are listening to the show and families.
Anyway, I ended up having to fight that guy and get to where I'm taking him to jail, and I'm dragging him through the cells, through the hallway of the cells by his hair, because this guy's fighting with me. And I had the dispatcher throw me the key for the jail, so I'm taking him back. And I'm going to throw him in a cell with Tuffy, because I figured that'd probably work out pretty good.
They'll be peaceful. They'll be playing chess.
When Jeff was a kid, he would find 2 praying mantises and go, oh my God, in the same jar.
So I'm dealing with this guy that's trying to fight and everything, and I'm trying to get Tuffy to move out of the way of the door. I'm not paying attention. I'm shoving the key in the keyhole, and I'm turning. I'm like, Tuffy, move, Tuffy, move, Tuffy, move. And I happen to catch Tuffy's feet were not on the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, Tuffy had
Oh, man.
taken the sheet
I was laughing at Tuffy, and now I'm.
day one when we had sheets. And hung himself.
After you said to, after being in trouble for
That's
saying.
like the darkest I told you so.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, you want to talk about
No shit.
the first oh shit factor. I'm the only one on. I'm the one that arrested him. I'm the one that put him in the
You
cell.
haven't seen a lot of that.
Noticing
Have
a
you?
common theme.
I'm the only one that makes the comments about the sheets, and I'm the only one that has somebody in the history of the jail just hang himself within an hour of me booking
Yeah, that
him in.
looks good.
Yeah, somebody was calling you and be like, "So, where were you?"
Yeah, there was there was some.
Wow, your Epstein comment was surprisingly
Fortunately,
on point, dude.
fortunately, there were other cameras in the cell that showed that, there was no way that I could do it.
That
But
could've
it took
changed
them a
your
while
life,
to
huh?
figure that out. So
Shit.
yeah, that was not a fun time. But I will say that shortly after
We were laughing at him, by the way. You didn't let us know. Wow, that's my bad. My
But
bad.
shortly
Happens. Every
afterwards,
time I pick a favorite character in a story, they die.
Damn.
I didn't say you guys didn't say they all had to be happy.
we just want your stories. It doesn't have. You're right.
So,
They don't have to be
yeah.
happy.
Well, R.I.P. Tuffy.
Yeah, no shit.
Fast forward to a couple of weeks later,
Zombie Tuffy.
No,
Too soon? All
there
right.
was a Chinese restaurant in town, and there was a litter of kittens underneath. And I had worked on getting these kittens to come to me
Aw.
over. I found them. It took probably about a week.
You lost people with Tuffy killing himself, and you're bringing him back with kittens.
Yeah,
I like
so
that.
I got myself
I'm back.
a kitty cat, caught him, brought him home. And I named him Tuffy. Yep. So I named.
I would have named him Chow Mein.
Well, I got another cat from there, and I named it number 4. So
That was his name, huh?
that was the second.
I was
cat that
trying
got.
so hard not to make a Chinese food joke, and I just couldn't. I couldn't stop it from coming out.
Well, there you go. Off the island,
I
both of
really
you.
did name a cat number 4. It was. I got
had
that
zero
second cat
doubt.
about a week after I got Tuffy. So.
You got to put what year was that so that people know it wasn't yesterday.
Oh no, this was. I had to be 99.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That joke was more sensible in 1999.
Yeah. Joke.
It was a fun joke that was his name for years, right? Or
Number 4.
Number
yeah.
4.
Number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, yeah. Rest in peace, Tuffy. Good story. Sad.
Sad. Yeah. It was sad. It sucked. It was really shitty. By the way, we
that
got
is
rid of the
great.
sheets.
Yeah. Okay. That
I
is
should
the
hope
follow-up.
so.
Yeah. And I got to tell you that I didn't want a big I told you so. That really. I mean, it really did
yeah.
suck. But I could tell that the chief just had this feeling that there was an I told you so, and he never treated me the same after
I
that.
bet he's like I
think he didn't trust me anyway.
Oh.
But
Fuck though.
because this was after the whole when I was on day shift. They put me on day shift, and I lasted on day shift for a week, and that was during that whole incident that I talked about a couple weeks ago with Paul DeLuna. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Judge Dredd thing, right?
No.
Oh.
A different
Oh.
one. The guy that I got in a pursuit with, and then he broke into a house, and I had to fight it.
Oh yeah.
So that was all. That was incident 1 of 3 incidents that happened that week of self-initiated stuff that I ended up with barricaded subjects, and they kicked me off day shift.
I remember that.
Said I was
You
too
guys had to fight a lot. That is
Every
like
day.
Back into the night.
That was fun. I mean, for a young, for in a time when I was young and just wanted to go have a blast, and the era and just the violent towns that I was in, it was a lot of fun. And you fought every day.
It's crazy.
Just how it worked out.
You know how people look at police and they're like, you shouldn't be fighting ever. You should be figuring out a way to make it so that no one is ever hurt and all that stuff. And it's like, I remember when I first met you, like, no, I fought 3-4 times a day and I didn't want to. That's how it was.
That's just how it works, yeah.
They were going to pick a fight, and if I didn't fight back, I would die.
Yeah.
Or wouldn't be a cop anymore.
Right. And there was a lot of gang faction stuff in that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
But it
each
was, and that's
community
what
is
I did
different.
mostly was a gang officer, so it was
Yeah.
fun.
So, yeah. And it's good that you looked at it like that way. There's only a couple ways to look at it, right? But anyway. All right. Thank you for the police story.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot about...
Police stories.
Yeah. It's almost like we have a lot of your book written here on this podcast.
Is that Chips?
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Stupid show. I never liked
Stupid
Chips.
show, but that song just got you
Adam 12.
up.
Adam
It
12
got
was
you
a shit
up.
though. Yeah, you got to say that. Yeah.
I was like, and then you're like, oh, I don't know what the plot of that show
I'm
was.
like, I have this thing. 20 years later they called it anxiety, but back then they didn't know what it was. That feeling that song created.
Right.
Nerves.
It felt like dopamine, but really it was something tragic.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right, well, let's move on to something silly. This is our earliest relationships. we thought we could riff on this a little bit, but the kind of focus would be like first kiss, and maybe mentality. And have you grown out of the awkwardness of that first kiss?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yes and no.
I'm not sure how to answer.
I don't know why I asked that question. It's a pretty dumb question.
I do remember my first kiss. I remember who it was.
You do?
I do.
Was it a positive experience or not?
At the second kiss,
Too much
it was
hesitation.
better. Yeah, it was. So it was Aaron Klinger, and
She is suing us currently.
He sounds like a
I don't
nice
care.
fella.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, well, he had a mustache. Aaron Klinger, she like asked me, do you want to kiss me? Well, of course I did. And I didn't know what the hell a French kiss. I was in 4th grade. I don't know what a French kiss really was. I just thought you just kind of
Like, is it like French toast?
like had your
Is there
mouths
syrup
together
involved?
and just kind of smooshed them, and then all of a sudden her tongue went in my mouth, and I liked it, but I didn't know what to do with it. So, but
There that is.
and then I remember she had a girlfriend there, and they just like whispered and then kind of laughed. So then I was embarrassed. I'm like, well, I've never done that before. So then, to her credit, I think she was in 7th grade, but she actually took the time to show me how to kiss.
Nice.
So, God bless her.
Man, what a
That's
saint.
a classy individual
awesome.
there. Yeah,
That's
that
way
is.
better than my first kiss story.
All my first kiss story is like the next day. They're like, he's a terrible kisser. We
But
should
you're
avoid him highly.
But your uncle's in jail now, right?
Nice.
These are the jokes. Woo.
Clap back.
Well, who's your first kiss?
So I won't out her because I think we still associate. So I don't want to get
Suing.
Is that a
name
bad
dropper.
thing?
But
I don't think so. It should be fine.
no, but like it might
on
be-
you,
it's
actually, so
it was
whatever.
she was a different person then. But
SKATCAST lawyers are standing by.
so we'd been dating for a little while, and I was like obsessed with getting my shot at kissing her, and I was like, I'm gonna orchestrate this, so I had this whole plan where I was gonna go hang out at her house, and she lived not too far from a river, and I was like, hey, at a certain time, I know what time the moon's gonna be up, I know what the weather's gonna be, so it's gonna be like super clear. I'm
When
gonna take
the
her down to
moon
this spot
hits
that I
your
scouted
eye.
out by the river,
Like a big piece of pie, that's a movie.
and then I'm gonna make my move, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I was so smooth. I took her down there. We were sitting on this downed tree, and I was like, I've been thinking, and like I've kissed you here, and I like kissed her cheek, and I was like, and I've kissed you here, and I kissed her on her forehead, and I was like, but I've never kissed you here, and I just went in for it, and I was just like, ding, 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 fuck yeah, you
Smooth
fucking nailed
motherfucker.
it, you smooth operator, and I kissed her for about an eternity, I don't know, 5 seconds probably, and mid kiss, she goes, "You're eating my face."
Oh!
And my
As it
heart
echoes
my
in
heart
your
dropped
mouth.
into my shoes. I was just like,
Ooh.
what do I say?
That's-
to
So
that?
basically,
I was like,
you were
well,
like a-
let's go play video games.
You're like a sucker fish over her
Yes.
breathing apparatuses.
I thought I was doing great, but apparently I had things to learn.
That's not amore. Whoopsie.
I was like, ouch.
That is, and then that does affect you after that. Those are the confidence things. Those are big chunks, like pillars
Oh,
of
dude,
confidence.
I couldn't kiss her after that without thinking of, you're eating my face.
And you're like, did I eat your face then? Did I do it right?
Yeah.
It's too bad we didn't have YouTube tutorials at the time. We could have gone back and read that shit. Or did you get a chance to? How'd you learn how to kiss?
I didn't do any recon.
A girl taught you.
yeah,
Thank God. That's the way
better
to go.
than my uncle. So she was a
enough.
better kisser than my uncle too.
and your dog. How did you go learn? I mean, that's something. Whenever I stumble at something, I'm like, I gotta learn all about that. It never happens again.
The way I chose to view it is she didn't dump me, so I was like, well, I've already set the bar low, so there's only up from here. So I just like practiced any chance I got until she stopped complaining, and I was like, it must be getting better. Experience.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they don't know how to do it either. It's not like they were like, I've been an amazing kisser since I was 3. I mean, some maybe have, but it's
Yeah, I know,
not-
right? We were like 14.
Yeah. So it's like everybody's insecure about it, and everybody's like, am I doing it right? But when they're like, you're eating my face, it's like, okay, both of us who don't know we're doing it right. She knows this is wrong.
There wasn't like a more gentle way you could put that.
Like, please, well, you can pull away.
Don't
and be
spare my feelings.
It
or
was more
anything.
polite than I can't breathe, probably.
Like, yeah. Or I don't like this. I don't like you either.
I thought you were supposed to chew on the nose. I didn't know.
I didn't know I'd hate kissing so much till I kissed you, sir. I don't even remember I'm trying to think this whole time you guys are talking. I'm like, okay, I don't have a story because
you guys ever get stood up? Like, was there like a big moment where you like got stood up and you were like, wow, like it just hurt your soul?
I've only ever asked one girl out and she said no. So I learned how to manipulate conversations into them asking me to go do something very quickly.
There you go.
Fair. Like, rejection? Nope, not happening again.
I am over that.
Screw that. My whole personality is based around that. Never again. I remember, this isn't the first kiss, but like it was the first serious girlfriend. And again, I won't out her either because she lives in our city and stuff. But I remember her dad had a nice house, and I looked up to him. He was like a guy dropped out of high school and he owned his own company, and he had this, he just had his shit together and made this nice house. And they had this fantastic setup for a hot tub in this downstairs space where we had like lots of space away from parents to make noise. And I'm 7th grade or something like that. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was her. I remember just like we're putting bathing suits on, and I'm just. And she's like, oh wow, he's excited, and I just couldn't help it. I'm like, I didn't know the tuck method, like to put it in the in the underwear strap or the whatever.
You don't. Is that what you do? You tried to go up with it?
What? Yeah.
What do you mean? Mine only goes up. There's no going down.
I can't.
Well, no, but I mean, so then it comes out of the top of your pants. That's
I know.
Well, yeah,
I know.
but that's what shirts are for.
I know. Yeah.
It sounds so uncomfortable.
But then I was about to go into the hot tub, so I was like, fuck it. But as soon as we could get in the hot tub, I could. But I remember I just didn't know what to do. I was just like, da-da-da. So the next morning, she had, I'm just shittily kissing and whatever, but she had hickeys like all over her neck in areas that I was like, wow, poop, and that's all I knew. I didn't know what to do and stuff, but I
like
know
hickeys
that,
from you? Or?
Yeah, from me.
I was like, dude, red flag.
Just out of nowhere. No, yeah. So I just did 7th grader. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I remember
leeches in the hot tub.
She told her friend, and her friend like drew pictures of like me standing there with this boner and just a bunch of shit on her neck. And I remember her dad was like,
and that's when Zach's love of cartoons really began.
Probably. I was like, I need to draw boners all the time. But then, I remember her dad, she's just like, dude, like, why did you do that? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it was a fun conversation after that. It's like, because I don't know stuff. I'm, blah, blah. But I remember that being like one of those pillars of confidence where you're like, you should know stuff. They're looking to you to know stuff. And if they're not going to teach you, they're looking to you.
It's my first day.
I'm like, well, check that off the box. Don't do that again. OSHA will be here tomorrow. Don't suck on necks. Don't suck on faces.
I do remember when you're at that stage in puberty where you just spring a boner for no fucking reason. Dude. And it's like at a super inopportune moment as well. I had one where I was walking around in the park with my girlfriend at the time and like her best female friend. We were just cruising around, and I was standing at this gazebo with like a waist high pony wall, and they were on the opposite side of it facing me, and I had this raging fucking boner for no reason. I was just of the age where like the wind would blow the right way, and I'm like, whew.
Yeah,
full mass, baby.
A screw in a fucking nut. You're like in the shot class. You're like, a screw in a nut. Oh shit.
Exactly. So it's there, and I'm like, oh, this pony wall is perfectly placed. I'm just gonna kind of sidle up on it so that even if they walk around, I've got some shielding. That
they won't
be able to
boner.
see my tent pole here. So as I'm sidling up to this pony wall, I misjudged the distance, and I bonked the tip of my dick like right into it. And before I could stop it, I go, ow. And they both looked at me and they were like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, nothing. I just stubbed my dick.
Stuff that shouldn't be going
I tried
on.
to play it off, but I wasn't adept enough to, so I inevitably ended up telling them, and then that was just the fucking joke for years afterwards. They just walk up behind me in the hallway at school and be like, ow. Like, oh, God damn it, get away from me.
Baby, it still kind of hurts.
Well, I have to say that even in your 50s, working graveyard, there's this time in a shift that you're genuinely nothing's going on. You're just kind of driving around, daydreaming. You're getting kind of tired, and you get that I'm getting cozy riser. Yep. And that's about the time that you get sent to a call that you have to go talk to somebody.
Down boy.
Now I wear you know,
is that a gun in your pocket?
I was wearing combat pajamas, the jumpsuits. They're not like, you can't do anything with those.
There's no hiding it?
No, it just looks like...
You can't put it in the strap.
A tent.
Oh, shit. Well,
Jeff shows up at the
should disarm some
DV
people.
call, and they're just like, "Whoa, no, thank you."
I mean, I guess
it
if
either
I
disarms or
had worn a
it
leg
shit
holster,
pretty
I guess I could have, strapped it down or something. But it was kind of a...
You couldn't have put your baton over it a little bit?
Every night working graveyard, it's like, yep, it's that time. This is going to suck. And just...
Car 54, where are you? Well, I've got a chub.
Well, I'm car 69 at the moment.
All right. Well, your first kisses all sound terrible. Yours, Jeff, seemed to be the least terrible.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Jeff's like, I'm an outer.
Oh yeah,
it was Aaron, everybody.
Right. I'm not outing any of these people. All right. Well, let's move on. This is an interesting one. It's moral obligation.
Ooh. This was my little brainchild, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, it was Epicurus's brainchild before it was mine.
We're going to talk philosophy after we
let's get a little
talk boners.
Philosophical, boys. But so my query to kind of start off the conversation is if you have the ability... Okay, let me start over. If you know something bad is going to happen and you have the ability to prevent it, do you have a moral obligation to do so?
Good question.
Right.
Depends.
I think so too, but let's dig into it a little bit, right?
All right.
Because on the face of it, it's like, well, yeah, if you could stop a bad thing from happening, why wouldn't you? Like,
Right.
that's the right thing to do, isn't it?
This is one of those ethical dilemmas.
I've spent most of my life trying to stop bad things from happening, and really hasn't benefited anybody. Bad things still happened, and I didn't get anything out of it.
I guess, but I mean, there's the starfish parable too, where the guy's chucking starfish from the beach back in the ocean, and they're washing up quicker than he can chuck them back, and he's like, this kid's like, it's not making any difference, and he picks one up and goes, made a difference to this one, and pitches it back in,
Yeah.
So it's like,
I guess I should say I actually did try. I guess the difference is having the ability to. I thought I had the ability to change a lot of situations that were bad to good, but I just didn't.
Right.
Because it really ultimately wasn't my responsibility.
Yeah, you were optimistic, though.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with being optimistic and then just end up being cynical at the end when you're like, it didn't work. But it did work. You reached just like the starfish thing. Like, there's a lot of starfish that are like, they will be at your funeral, whether you even know their names. They'll be like, this guy fucking saved me. You know that there's dozens, if not more. Hundreds, probably.
I mean, even in personal life, if you look back and you recognize you were trying to do something that wasn't going to happen regardless of what you did, did you just waste time? No. And the answer to myself is no. That's not true. I did the best that I could do.
Right.
So
we waste time all the time. That's not a waste of time to help somebody, I don't think, ever. So it could be a waste of your energy if you're choosing the wrong priorities, the wrong people. But
yeah, for sure. And the inverse of this question is also kind of interesting to explore, because it's like, if you could prevent a bad thing, should you not do so? But if you have the ability to do a good thing and it will make a difference, do you have a moral obligation to do it? It's like, I don't know. Like, when I frame it that way, it's easier for me to go, no, like, that's not, you don't have to.
Right.
Like, if you do, then good on you, pat, but you don't have an obligation to do that.
Is it morally favorable? Probably.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody's obligated
Maybe
to do shit.
But then again, if you get into the
sacrificing
nuance
yourself.
of it, why are you doing it?
Right.
Like, are you doing it just because it's moral and it's part of your personal code? If so, then bravo. Are you doing it because you know that other people will see it as moral and it'll make you look like more of a stud? Not so bravo.
Yeah. Well, if doing good deeds makes you feel good, that's kind of selfish, but it's also still
Well, it should make you feel good.
Yeah.
It should make you feel
There's
good.
a selfish element to everything in life, right?
Yeah. But it's a good, to me, it's like if you're helping people because it makes you feel good to help people, at the end of it, I guess ends justify the means on some level, where you're like, good.
Well, it's a win-win, and that's what we look for in life, I think.
Yeah. I guess just as far as it pertains to your personal character, I still question your motivation. I mean, if the net result is positive, then cool.
Right. That's a real basic, simple.
But as far as when it comes to personal character and personal growth, it's like, okay, did you do that good thing because you wanted somebody or some buddies to be impressed with you, and that was your sole motivation? If so, I don't know if that's an appropriate motivation to have. You still did a good thing though, so it's like, okay, we'll take it, but better to do a good thing for the sake of
selflessness,
doing it for. Well, I don't know if there really is a truly selfless act.
I don't think that there is.
But a selfless person.
But if you're doing it, I mean, is it selfish to do something for your own personal growth or your own personal gratification?
I think it's kind of your responsibility to do.
But
something.
I think it's a good thing to do. I don't think that like selfishness just gets this negative connotation, and I think that's not correct.
I guess what I'm agree. It's okay to be selfish to a degree. I mean, you should be, within your boundaries, and it's okay to treat yourself and go do something good for you, for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like the word doesn't fit what it used to mean. Like selfishness is a pejorative, basically. So, but yeah, being selfish is also being responsible for yourself in the sense, or self-centered. All those words, it's like your fucking number one job, period, is to make sure that you do your best at not being a cunt, and you're responsible for yourself the best you can.
For sure. I think it's folly to live your entire life for other people.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. I think it's a poor way to go through life. Personally,
you can't do it, and I actually believe that a large portion of my life, I genuinely tried, and I could take care of other people, but I didn't take care of myself, and it took me a long time to see that.
It's always trade-offs. Yeah.
Somebody told me once that they were talking to me, but they said, dude, people are your greatest strength and simultaneously your biggest weakness, and you need to keep that in mind for the rest of your life when it comes to how you choose to deal with people, because people are great. I mean, there's aspects of having people in your life and doing things based upon the needs or wants of other people that is good, and it can be beneficial to you, but there's a real easy flip side to that, and there's a hazy line between them where you're doing stuff for people and you're not. It's at the expenditure of yourself, and it's hard to keep that shit straight, like it's really hard to figure out when the giving stops and the taking begins, you know what I mean, with people. But this is the Ayn Rand objectivism. It's part of objectivism. She wrote a book called The Virtue of Selfishness. Yeah. And people have what people that listen to Ayn Rand would say that people misinterpret it, and they're just like the selfish of the connotation of you're evil and you're just a piece of shit. But you're saying exactly what I think objectivists think, which is you decide, like, if you want to sacrifice yourself for somebody on your own accord because you love them and you couldn't picture it any other way, that's virtuous. If you are compelled to sacrifice because of some idea of selflessness that you need to for society's sake or for whatever, that is wicked and coercion. And then, of course, if you sacrifice because the government says that you need to and that kind of stuff. It's wicked on whose part? On the part of whoever made you feel coerced into doing it?
The coercers.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
That makes society immoral. And that was kind of her argument against a lot of that stuff. And a lot of people hate Ayn Rand and objectivism, and I get it. I've read as much of the crap as I can of anything.
Yeah, there's some. I've read a good amount of Ayn Rand's stuff, and there's stuff that I'm like, fuck yeah, and there's stuff that I'm like, I don't know about that, But
but the selfishness.
But I feel that way with anybody that I read, really.
Right. And she wasn't a trained philosopher, so all of the trained philosophers are like, she's not a real philosopher, and she's not. Her logic isn't. You can poke holes and stuff.
It's not a funny thing.
I love it. Like, people eating each other.
You don't have the right to have any philosophies if you're not.
Yeah.
That's like Dan Carlin. You guys familiar with Dan Carlin, the Hardcore History podcast guy? He's the first person to say, and he says it often, he's like, I'm not a historian, I'm just a guy who studies history. I'm like, that's what a historian is, dude. He's like, he's not been trained as a historian, and it's just like, he's more bang on history than anybody I've ever paid attention to in my lifetime.
And he's teaching
what makes
more
you
history to people than anyone
What
else.
makes you a confirmed philosopher? There's not a college. I mean, I guess there is philosophy in college.
You get degrees in philosophy, but I
don't know that makes you.
I think philosophers talk about that, like what makes a philosopher. A philosopher is, we're all kind of philosophers if we're thinking past, day to day and thinking about the future and thinking how things
if
work.
you're a philosopher, you should be the last person to be like, oh, you weren't trained, so you can't be a philosopher.
Right.
It's like, how about we look at that philosophically?
I think when you go and you get a PhD in something, you're like, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time. You did not do what I did.
Get to have the credit that I do.
That's right.
I think it's
I pay for
really.
my credit, damn it.
And when you're a doctor, it's fucking, yeah, you're right.
I think it's
you
really
shouldn't be
cringy
surgery
to
compared
call
the
yourself
doctor.
a philosopher, and even if you are a trained philosopher, have a degree in it, it's just like, you could say, I study philosophy. Perfect.
I
You're like,
appreciate that.
I am a philosopher. Are you?
Are you okay, Socrates?
Who
let's
are you
talk
trying to
about,
convince?
let's talk about some caves, Plato.
So, talking about philosophers, this question came from a popular excerpt from the writings of Epicurus, and I'll read the quote so you guys can know where this came from. And it was not so much, I extrapolated it into, where does our responsibility lie in our morality, because I like to take things and just bring them down to a personal level and see if they still make sense. But Epicurus was talking about God. And it's an interesting quote, and a lot of people use it, I think, as a sword against, militant Christians, where they're just like, oh, how to take this, and I'm
right.
like, I don't think that's attractive, but it is a really interesting philosophical quote. So it says, is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he is not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. If he is both able and willing, then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God?
Ba-bum-bum. Ping.
Right. So, in the whole connotation is, if you have the power to stop evil, but you allow evil to exist, then are you not in some small way also evil?
That's
for
us.
allowing evil to take place?
We're talking, is God moral? Or is God capricious?
Essentially, yeah.
And
I mean, there's a lot in that. I mean, he went from, is God moral? Is God an asshole? Does God even exist? It's kind of where it ended,
Right.
And it's just like, okay, well, there's a lot of big questions there, but
yeah, and there's a religion for each piece. There's like 1,000 religions for each one of those things too.
Right.
It's like deism is like, yeah, there's a God, but he doesn't care. And there's 1,000 monotheisms and polytheisms.
I think a lot of my Christian friends that I can think of in my head would argue the fact they believe that we as humans are something special in particular.
Mm-hmm.
If there were to be a God, my assumption would be that we as humans have put value on life and death, an exorbitant amount. But if it would come to a God, we're no different than a blade of grass, living and dying.
Yeah.
We're all on an equal playing field. We're the ones that think we're important.
And same with
not a God. That's where my perspective would be.
Yeah, and in that same vein, our understanding of God's morality would be like that of a blade of grass to that of a
We have no idea.
That makes logical sense to me, but at the same time, there's sort of, I can think of a handful of counter arguments against that notion of our lives not really being any more special than a blade of grass to God as far as he's depicted in the Bible, because the Bible says that, like,
it
makes it very clear that he's like, he's extremely invested on an individual level in anybody and everybody that exists, so it's like,
but yet what we find important in life and death, obviously he doesn't, and we would view him as being non-caring or evil if he would allow these things to happen.
Right, yeah, and that is the popular clapback from what I've read and had conversations with people, is they say, well, you're trying to frame it with human logic, and it's God-sized issue,
but then that's like a huge leap of faith where you're like, you don't understand it either, and you're trying to teach this shit.
It's like,
tell me that's my only choice.
Or are you trying to invent God-sized logic in order to invalidate the actual logic that we're all using on our playing field? It's like
a question that none of us will ever know.
Possible?
That is 100% possible.
Or, I guess we'll figure out maybe someday.
Well, this on the same token is like, okay, so God is the creator of all things and omnipotent and knows everything. Mm-hmm. So he made Satan or Lucifer or however, he made this evil thing that's going to tempt mankind and kind of not the root of all evil, but the messenger of evil. But God made evil. So God is the root of all evil with this all-knowing, omnipotent stuff. And so when we're like, we got to fight evil, it's like you're fighting God. You're fighting what God, he gave you free will, but he created this for what? For you to fight?
I think the theological argument against that, as I understand it, is God didn't create evil. Evil is the natural absence of God's presence. So, like, Lucifer didn't start evil,
right?
But when he rejected God and then was separated from God, thence cameth evil. You know what I mean? So like that's the theological response to that, I think. But it's like, I mean, if you're really going to trace it all back to the origin point, I see what you're saying. You know, like it's like if he's omnipotent, then he knew that's how it was going to go down, and he chose to proceed. You know, so it's like, and it's weird too, because you look at like the creation story, right? And the first thing that the Bible teaches you, other than God can just speak things into being, which would be pretty cool. I wish I could do that. But the first thing it teaches you after that is
murder.
God isn't obligated to explain his reasons to you, but you have to do what he says. And if you don't, then you and everybody who comes from you for eternity is punished for it.
Right.
That's the first lesson in the Bible. And I mean, there's people that are going to be like, "Oh, bro, you're just you're being reductive," you know, and all that. But is it not so? You know, I mean, it's like Adam and Eve were basically toddlers. And then God was like, "Don't eat these trees, or don't eat the fruit from this tree right here."
And they did what toddlers do.
And then Lucifer was like, "Hey, you want all the answers that you haven't been given? Here, eat this." And they're like, "Ooh, answers."
Yeah, Lucifer was like a guy in a van with candy, and their kids were like, "Candy's kick ass." It's like, well, what do you expect? A lot of kids like candy. That's setting humans up, and God would have known that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess
humans would act like humans, right?
I guess my point is that my brain goes there when people like to put forth that, oh, you can't. It's petulant to ask to want to know God's reasoning because it's beyond your understanding. You can't comprehend it, so you just have to trust him and do what he says, even though you don't know the reasons, because you're not capable of grasping it.
I don't do that with people I know. Why would I do it with somebody I don't know?
I mean, I'm deeply offended by that, because I'm like, well, but the very first thing that God did in his book was not that. like you can't convince me that he couldn't have sat down with Adam and Eve and go, "Listen, guys, I'm going to spill the tea for you. There's this guy. He's the enemy of the things that I've created. He's going to want to mess it up. I don't want that to happen. And the reason that it could happen is if you eat this fruit from this tree, and if you do that, all of this will follow. So don't."
The knowledge of good and evil.
And I cannot be convinced that they couldn't wrap their heads around that. Like,
right. And maybe this is where we learned
they were kind of
it's a good idea to sit your kids down and teach them about the dangers of life, or to do not do things, you know, such as drugs and things like that. Yeah. This is the lesson we learned that in. He forgot to sit his children down and explain things.
Yeah, right.
It seems that way, you know what I mean? There's a lot.
That was his first time fathering. I mean, I understand.
Well, that's why the Bible seems like. I mean, when people say, you know, it's a holy book, it's like, it really, if you just step back and be like, take yourself out of the game, it seems like men wrote this. It seems like men of a certain period in time who are capricious like their God, who are kind of sinful.
You're right. There's not enough sparkly vampires for it to have been chicks that wrote it.
No. Well, and the science where it's
there's
like...
no real major sex scenes.
Yeah, there's no BDSM, so...
And then he had this revelation in a place where it wasn't really super developed, instead of going to China, where it was developed for 1,000 years, or India, where it was developed for 1,000, 2,000 years before this. God had his revelation. He's like, I'm going to go to these people that don't have... All of it just sounds like men from that time period who wanted to have cattle and have, you know, no shellfish because it's going to make you sick, and pigs, we probably shouldn't eat pigs. They put all of that shit into... And
there were some really solid philosophers sprinkled throughout there too. Like there was some, there's shit in the Bible that's extremely valuable.
Fantastic things are in the Bible.
By the way, I think a woman might have added some things into the Bible. I mean, because they're like no blowjobs, no anal sex, only have sex to procreate. That sounds like something a woman would say. So
okay,
I'm just throwing it out there.
The Bible is pro-woman, saith the Jeff.
I mean, Song of Solomon, maybe.
I'm just saying, they're like, you know, if we can program them to leave us alone more than not, you know, we'll have a better life. I don't want that thing in my mouth. I don't want it in my ass.
That could also be like the wives of the dudes at the time being like, standing over his shoulder. No.
That sounds reasonable.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would be convinced. I could be convinced that God does exist. I just couldn't be convinced that he exists in the manner that he has been presented thus far, you know. Like, I was like, I don't know. There's too many discrepancies and things that seem either childish or manipulative or inconsistent, where I'm just like, I can't swallow that whole pill. I just can't. And
Right.
if you and according to that religion, if you can't swallow the whole pill, then you get no pill.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like, well, okay, then I'll have no pill. But I would accept the possibility of there being a God. I would accept the possibility of there being multiple gods. I would accept the possibility of there being that God that we know about is the Alpha and the Omega of this existence, but there are other larger existences or different existences way somewhere else out there, and
Right.
they also have God
like
or
a
gods,
franchise.
and maybe like maybe it's a whole pyramid scheme. Point is, I don't know, and nobody else does, but it's fun to play around with it, and I'm never mad about having a conversation, and I don't want to take anybody's thing away from them either. Like I just like digging into the theology and the philosophy of it.
Would you rather have a God or not have a God? If the answer was yes, there's a God, or no, there's no God, what would you rather have?
The idea of it's fun,
Okay.
actually.
Protheist, then?
I do believe that there is more beyond our understanding. I don't
Right.
claim to know what the shape of that is, but I think that existence would be pretty mundane and boring if there wasn't something more beyond the veil, whatever you want to call
You're
it.
telling me a bunch of exploding stars that you're made of, your star guts from
Maybe I'm
billions of
an
years
indigo
ago.
child. That's all I'm saying.
That's not interesting enough for you. You need a fucking... Okay. I feel that way, too. I'm kind of an anti-theist.
Like
when
I
comes
want it to be that way, but I'm not sure that it is. And if it's not, okay, but it seems boring. I'd rather live in a world where there is, greater and larger things way beyond me. I think that's cool.
To me, it's kind of like the king thing that we talked about, where it's like, for my king. I feel that in my bones, where I'm like, I could do
all
that.
religion.
And I
It's
could do
just
that
trying to-
for my God.
It's just trying to manufacture a sense of purpose and have a container to put it in.
Yes, it is. But if it was true, if there was a God, I would be, but maybe that's kind of the fun. They're like, there might be. So come to me, and if you don't,
Old Zach, he was an anti-theist for most of his life, and then we found proof of God, and he went on the Crusades, and we never saw him
That's
again.
right. For God and my king.
God wills it, man.
I've had a few friends, including our bass player. He's like, Zach, thank goodness you never became a Christian, dude, because you would whenever I get some idea,
be
I just
so
get
obnoxious.
I did, especially in my 20s. God damn, I was insufferable. It was fucking bad.
You'd
So
be
it's a good thing I wouldn't
running a
have
mega
future.
church, actually.
It would be sad.
Just Benny Hinn.
I'd have a magic. I wouldn't use a coat. I'd have some other magic thing that knock
Dude,
people down.
speaking of crazy, like big mega churches,
Yeah, just knock them out.
Oh, that. It works every
I
time.
forgot the whole experience. That's what I was trying. That's what Bat of the Head does.
speaking of these
Where's
big,
my wallet? Sorry.
these big crazy. That was too funny to not laugh at.
That's too right.
Speaking of these big crazy mega churches and Benny Hinn and all that. Do you guys know who Benny Hinn
Oh,
is?
yeah.
So
Hadouken.
there was this lady who got kicked out of all 7 churches in the small town that I grew up in. Like, like she was just too much for all of them. Wow. Every denomination, they're all just like within. Some of them were like less than a month. They
You
were
like
like,
be a fucker to get
Yeah,
they were like, get out.
I have a lot of questions about this lady.
She was too hardcore, man. Her name was Iris, and
Was Iris shooting up heroin in the aisles?
You
or
know.
what?
No shit. Yeah, they'll leave you in if you're doing
Iris
that.
had a lot of shit going on, but with the one thing I wanted to lead with was she owned horses on her property, and in her horse stalls she had those little TVs with the tube TVs with the bunny ear antennas, and she had them tuned into the Miracle Network.
Back then we just called them TVs. By the way.
I had them too, and she had them all tuned into the Miracle Network so that her horses could watch Benny Hinn. Her horses were Christians also.
That's like when people are like, my dog's a vegan. It's like, no, you're killing your dog. You don't understand biology of dogs, and that's unfortunate.
Can you imagine if what if that was children instead of horses? She's like, all right, children, into your stalls with the 24/7 Miracle Network.
That kind of is. Isn't
kinda
it a
happened.
lot?
I know, right?
some
It's
degree.
like, ugh.
You're right, but you're right though. That is kind of sad. That's but little minds, little
Poor
minds.
horses.
But if they're right,
One of those horses
save
probably
those
has the
horses.
cure for cancer. It just can't communicate it.
just listening the whole time. It's like, I can't even think of a horse.
Yeah, I was like, what kind of horse sound was that?
My horse goes, "Hey, I'm Dick." So it's a little different. I don't have to do a lot of horse noises.
Talk to Mr. Ed.
Well, now have we exhausted that?
I think
topic,
so.
I think?
Yeah, we probably
I think
pissed
we've-
somebody off by now.
I think we're used to. I think we do that a lot.
It's okay.
Not everyone's going to like us on every.
Just accept
topic.
us, flaws and
just
all, and
conversation.
try to love us anyway.
Yeah, that's what friends do. It's like you're friends and you see each other's flaws and you forgive each other for them. And it's like, I hope what you guys are doing as we ride this, because it's a ride. If you're serious about it, you suck.
Well, and reference our earlier statement about all of us having really good Christian friends, you know, and it's just like we wouldn't be able to have a successful relationship with those people if we were cocksuckers about it, you know?
Right.
And also, I would have and have had these exact kind of conversations with them, and we're still friends.
Right. Exactly. I do respect. I mean, the anti-theism statement is kind of I don't know if I believe that or not, but it is like, I don't really want an all-knowing God that will punish you if you don't do certain things. Like some of the ideas of a celestial dictatorship that will punish you while you're sleeping and punish you after you're dead and all these things, like, I don't want that. I like the idea of a good king, of a benevolent king, but most of the kings are bad. And so I like the idea of a benevolent God, but it's like, I don't know. The God that people are advertising is as capricious. He's more capricious than my Uncle Bob, and Uncle Bob was kind of a dick. He got drunk a lot, and he was up and down. And he killed
uncles.
He killed all the Jews. I know.
Do people really care about the idea of God, or do they just really want to go hang out with their friends again that all died before them?
Oh man,
I mean, really, what is it? I mean, do they care about meeting the king, or do they care about hanging out with their friends? And the idea of getting back with the people that they have lost.
That's got to be a huge percentage.
It's probably a little of column A, a little column B, but I think it would be foolish to try and convince anybody that that's not a huge part of it. You know, like it's just like you want.
So
you want a sense of purpose.
That's kind of a selfish thing.
You want a sense of purpose, and you want to believe that you're going to be able to see the people you love after they're gone.
So that's kind of selfish. It's not wrong. I don't care, but it is kind of selfish to a degree. Just like how we deal with death in general, we deal with it in very selfish. When you refer to like when you think of atheist, it seems like a lot of atheists, they get so frustrated with any religion, particularly Christianity, it seems to be. They almost can't wait for like this big "I told you so" after the person dies. Like they're going to have that opportunity. Like, haha, I was right. There's no God. Oh, no. Nothing's going on. It seems to be the attitude that in arguments that they come up with.
Silly,
am I wrong?
If they're right, they won't ever have that chance.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I see people fight so hard. And it's like, just because I don't have the ability to believe in a God, I don't feel I'm okay that you do.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. It is kind of a dick thing that I am constantly telling them that I don't believe in their stuff because I think it's funny. But people make this point all the time where it's like, atheists don't have necessarily, you could maybe make some arguments if you really thought about it, but there are no atheist churches that you can really name. And you can split hairs and say, well, a bank isn't there. I don't know, whatever. But there's no crosses for atheists, although the cult of the curious symbol is the atheist symbol. That's kind of a cross. Although Dan's not an atheist. Weird stuff. But there are no churches, there are no like things like that, and there's no constant reminder of atheism other than atheists that are cunty and just strident like, fucking screw your God.
A lot of those.
Merry holidays, fuck your Christmas.
There's definitely a flavor of atheists that are like that, also that flavor of vegans.
They're cunts. Yeah.
They're just cunts. Yeah, where it's just like,
yeah.
Okay, fuck off, dude. No one cares.
Yeah, and this is where Christians are like, atheism is a religion too, and it's like, it's really not. But I see how you're saying that about
some people treat it that way.
Yeah, about the atheists, even in the public eye.
There's definitely ideology involved.
Oh, dude.
The only thing they're missing is a prophet and a book.
Right. Yeah. But their desire to be correct is fucking right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So that's weird. And I think I was part of that for a while. I remember being pretty strident on the internet and fucking picking fights with people that I didn't know on the internet and just kind of having an intellectual, tug of war a little bit. But I grew out of that just because I'd rather live around the religious people that are moderate. They're just good people. They're like, I've found the good parts of this Bible, and it's made my family line fucking strong and good, and we're very moral people. It's like, I'd rather live around those people than people that
I dig the fuck out of that. As long as they're not
figure out.
Constantly proselytizing or like doing. I don't know how to
Honestly,
put it.
I see more anti-religion people proselytizing their ideas than I do religious people.
Depends on the religion.
Yeah, I'm talking like the Facebooks and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's probably
kinda
fair to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ambling through religious history, that's me being trying to be funny because it's
okay
funny
to be
and it's my culture, but it's dick to a lot of people, and I feel bad because I don't want to.
But it's not
do that.
It's okay to look at any of the religions or the philosophies or the ideas and question them, and even just like, okay, this is how I interpret this. Yes, you're making fun of it to a degree, but you're not necessarily saying it's wrong. It's just It's just another interpretation, or I have more questions. You're not trying to be a cunt.
Well, I'm seriously a cunt on that show, but yeah.
Well, yeah, of course you are. But you're in humor. Yeah. You're not angry at anybody. You don't wake up in the morning and just start thinking, how am I going to fuck with religious people today?
No, I wish I could fuck with other religions more. I don't know as much about some, and the other one
it's
that I
the
really want to
easiest
fuck with will hurt me. If I that's the other thing is Christians are kind and they're forgiving because that's what they're that's what they're supposed to be, and a lot of them sure are. And so when I make fun of them, they're like,
Hashtag
thanks.
not all.
Yeah, when you're being a cunt to them, they're praying for you.
Right.
So think about that concept. It's kind of shitty, isn't it?
Exactly. That's why I don't do ambling through religious history as much as obviously there's a lot of stuff for it, and it's not like I'm altering myself because I'm I don't believe those things. I do like to shit on religion in the sense of the philosophy of it and the silly spots of putting a guy on a boat where the animals are supposed to not eat each other and not do all that stuff, and how do you feed them all and stuff. It's like, come on guys, this is literally a story you're telling us that we're supposed to really revere. But
it's like somebody being mad because you grew up and stopped believing in Santa Claus a little bit, Where it's just like, okay, listen, you can keep believing in Santa Claus. I just know that my presents come from my girlfriend now, so that's.
I got my Xbox, and that's not from Santa.
Which is also kind of a fucking. I'm half joking when I say that, but I'm half not. I mean, there's some truth to that, but I am also being facetious because it's like like that. It's not to say that all of religions are childish. I mean, there's definitely especially when you're when you meet somebody who's really walking the walk that they say that they're walking, and that they take it super seriously, and it's like a really deep part of their personal code that they've worked on and continue to work on for a long time. I say fuck yeah to those people.
Yes.
Because that's and you won't ever catch me looking at those people and going, oh, you're silly, Santa Claus believing in religion, but if people are silly about it and they're not what I just described, then yeah, fuck you. You're being silly, and don't try to make me be silly with you.
That's that Pascal's wager thing. I think a ton of people are really interested in hedging their bets with God. Where they're like, well, I'm an agnostic, or I believe in God, but I don't. Obviously, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I believe because I'm afraid. What does it hurt me if I believe in God is real? Then I lose nothing. But if you, an atheist, are wrong, then you fucking die and burn in hell, and that's not worth it to be there.
Well, you had me until that last bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everything you said up until but before the judgment started, I'm like, fucking A, dude. That's reasonable to me.
But the God that's all powerful and knowing knows that you're fucking with him, knows that you're on the fence, like, I'll go whichever way is the right way. And that's what I feel. That's like why when people are like, I'm an agnostic, I'm like, God would not like that. Like, God,
well, it's not
a fan of that. If there is a God,
that's what I mean though when I say I could be convinced that there is a God potentially, or that there are gods, or that there is something greater. I could be convinced potentially, but
dude, there's a bunch of 1 zeros and 1 zeros out in the universe. There's obviously a coder. There must be a coder, and that could be God. Why not?
I can't be convinced, however, that if God is even remotely the way that he is portrayed, that he would take some of my associates, you included, you two, and go, well, the grand sum total of your life and all the things that you did and the ways that you grew, you still don't get to come to heaven. You have to have eternal separation from me because you didn't say the magic words, and that's just the way it is. No. Sorry, right. I just can't buy that. Though. I just can't buy that.
Here's the thing: I said the magic words in a period of my life, and I tried to live that life for a long time. And what I really honestly found out, again, looking at myself, is like, I don't believe any of this shit. I was just trying to find positive influence in my life at the time, and really,
true for a lot of people.
Most people don't even like me because of the life that I had lived, the knowledge that they have about me. They've actually treat me like shit. But it's not. I kind of forgot where I was going.
So how do you feel? So that being the case, knowing that about you, how do you feel about is there something in the back of your head that's like, well, I forsook all of that, but I did still say the magic words, so maybe I'm good if that does end up being the way that it goes.
Here's what happened. I thought to myself, well, if God is what we call God is what God is, then he knows that I although I'm trying to believe, I really don't believe. So anytime that I talk about it, all I'm really doing is trying to impress the people around me so they'll accept me.
And lying to God.
And I'm lying to everybody around me.
And God knows.
And that's not who I am.
So
and
do
I
you
don't
think
wanna be
you
that
were
anymore.
sincere when you first,
I think
accepted the Lord into your heart?
I think at the time
or
and
whatever?
the emotion of the situation, it felt extremely sincere at that moment. And you know, you kind of, and that's when you make a decision. You're like, hey, I'm going to really, just as much as I made the decision, I'm going to do 75 hard, and I started the next day. It was, I believe in you, and I'm going to start investigating this and live this life. And I found out really quickly that I was probably judged more, and that was just my experience. I'm not saying it's right or wrong,
right?
But the point is I didn't have the ability to believe, and I still don't. So, and I tried.
Do you remember the period in your life that you believed the most? Do you remember a time where you're like, this is the most I'm going to give it a chance?
20 to 20. Yeah, it was all about, 6 months, and I just had a really bad experience as far as the groups that I tried to get involved in.
So maybe
basically got cast out because I was honest with them.
So if you would have fallen into a good group of Christians that had a better way to talk to you about it, there's
might have
a good
influenced
chance.
me differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which just would really mean because I was getting kindness and goodness, I was more open to suggestion.
Yeah.
And yeah, may very well have turned out. I might have seen the movie a different way. But the theory of us watching the same movie and we get two totally different concepts out of it. I might have seen it your way instead if I was influenced prior to seeing the movie with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could say that probably about any organized group of people that share a philosophy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that what you just described could be equally true as if you had joined a biker gang and then they treated you like shit and you're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I thought. Or you joined a biker gang and it was exactly what you felt like you were missing in your life, and then you were like, ride or die, bitch. This is my family, and everything they believe, I believe it too. Yeehaw.
So somebody who has a strong relationship in their life with God, they believe, they may look at me and say, really, what destroyed the relationship between you and God was man, and you should try to increase that relationship on your own. That would be a realistic answer.
Yeah.
And the honest answer to me is I don't. I'm really at the point where I don't care to look anymore.
I'll see him in the end if he exists.
And that's the honest answer is I don't care anymore. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear people's stories like that. 'Cause like I had not that experience, but I was raised around Christianity, and I did the whole accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior thing when I was like 4.
Too young to make that rational decision.
I feel that is so, you know. But then I spent the vast majority of my adolescence really leaning into it hard, and I tried my ass off, you know. And there was long periods of time where I was like, yeah, I feel totally sincere and secure in this. But then I would have, those quiet moments at night where I'm really thinking about stuff absent any sort of external input. And I would start to go, well, I don't know that I actually feel the way that I say that I feel about this or that or this thing or that thing. And I kind of would voice that to certain people in those circles, and they would be like, oh, you're just having a crisis of faith, and like it's just everybody goes through it, but you just have to get past it and you'll believe even stronger. And it kind of offended me at the time. I was like,
bullet points in ideology where you're like, that's a bullet point, bro.
Yeah, I was like, that seems like kind of a flimsy thing to reply to my genuine questions with,
Your logic is kicking in. It'll go away after a while.
Yeah, that's how it felt, and I was like, ooh, that doesn't sit well with me.
Ignore it, and it'll go away.
So that's how I started falling out of love with organized religion. And then as I got older and out on my own and saw more of the world and learned more about things outside of that ecosystem, I was like, oh yeah, if I want to be an authentic person, which I really have always had a strong desire to be, like, if you meet me and you get to know me, you're getting to know the real me. Like, I'm not playing games with anybody, and it's important to me that I am that person. And I was like, if I'm gonna be that person, I can't keep slinging this game because it's not really me,
right?
And which led to me having to have that conversation with my dad, when I was still like in my early 20s, and I was like, that was terrifying for me,
but
because of my experience that I had in the church. Now, one of the people that I admire in the world is a friend of mine named Greg Giroux. Older guy, very successful. He's just done a lot of cool things. A couple weeks ago, I got to spend a lot of time with him. And very, very, I don't want to say religious. He has a very strong relationship with God, and he's very, very educated. And he and I can have really in-depth conversations, and I listen to what he says. I appreciate what it says, but I can also be open and say, I don't understand your mindset on this, and I can say my mindset. And he listens to me too. He doesn't try to change my mind. It's just conversation. It's really good. Yeah. But I find that because of my past relationships that were involved in the church, like, I'm not as open with him because I fear that he'll judge me as a human being because of his morals and beliefs in his God. Which really kind of puts a barrier in our friendship, and we've been friends for years, and now we're starting to get closer. So
not after this podcast. I'm just kidding.
How's that?
You're talking about him. He's like, hey, dude.
He's an amazing human.
I want to be his friend. Sounds fun to me.
You know him.
I know.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Super talented guy.
He sounds similar in some regards to my buddy John, who I'd love to have on our podcast sometime, because he's like, he and I are super similar, and he's very, very, very fucking smart, very educated, really hilarious sense of humor, and he has his things that he believes, and he's never been afraid to talk to me about them. But same like you said, he always listens to me. He's willing to entertain my ideas the same as I entertain his, and I don't just shit on everything that comes out of his mouth and make fun of it either, you know, even if I feel that way about some things that he might say, which I don't think I have, but I wouldn't is the point, you know. And that's super fucking valuable to be able to have good friends that you're like, hey, we bonded over these fucking qualities and we disagree here, but rather than beat each other's throats about it, we just dissect it once in a while and
right. And it's fun. I like to ask him questions, and I think he likes to answer them. But I'm more interested in what's the next answer, so I can ask the next question, and just the path that it leads. And he'll take me all through the Bible. He bounces all over the place and talks about stuff that's way over my head, really. Yeah. But it's interesting, and you know, like I said, it is not his fault that I feel there are things that I can't be as open and honest about. That's my problem. He's never done anything to me. It's my shit from my past. So anyway, there's an opportunity for me to learn more if I just open up is the point that I'm trying to get to. Yeah. So I need to get over that.
Yeah, you'll get there, I bet. Yeah. I'm sure you will.
There's some people in this world that it makes you tempted to follow Christianity just because of the way they are as people, where you're like, damn, like Eric. We all know Eric.
Fucking love Eric.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eric. Yeah, if you're in Spokane, go to Sage's Portal.
Yeah, Sage's Portal. That's
best
what I
dice in town.
That's what I want.
And they have bubble tea.
But what a good man. Good dad. Good
excellent
husband.
Man. Love that guy.
Good friend. Just good thinker.
He's so fucking sincere too.
Yeah.
Like you. He's one of those people that reaffirms my decision to try to be a real fucking person, no matter what. Because when you deal with Eric, you're dealing with fucking Eric.
Dude, and so few people like that,
and you don't have to wonder, you know. You're just like, oh yeah, fuck yeah.
And the fact that he's Christian, you're like, all right, there's something going. I mean, he's got it going on for himself. I don't know, you know. But I like having conversations with him.
The principles that are involved some of them are really a lot of them are really fucking valuable.
Absolutely,
you know, so.
They're things that humans need in their life, and we've talked about that before, the usefulness of it, whether it's true or not, and all that stuff. But yeah, he's one that every time I make a joke about religion, I'm like, I hope I don't piss him off because I really love him. And, he's
it doesn't piss him off, though.
I know.
You know what, though?
That's the beauty of it.
I think he's very genuine, and he really loves you, too, no matter what. That's the difference.
His faith is also very strong. So he's like,
you could be like, Eric, I really had to go, so I peed on the carpet in your living room. And he'd be like, Zach, what the fuck? You want to come over again tomorrow and play board games? Like,
I forgive you, son of a bitch.
Bring a towel next time.
He's listening to this like, I would not forgive
He's
you.
He's like, no, I wouldn't. I'd rub his nose in it.
Have you seen my carpets? They're fucking perfect. You don't piss on my carpet. But yeah, so shout out to Eric and his Sage's Portal in Spokane, and you can get online too and get their D&D dice.
Yep.
And they're killing it too, which is great. All right, we did our moral obligations.
Yeah, that was wild. That was we spiraled all the way into the left field of religion. We went from philosophy to religion, as one often does.
It does happen. Yeah, this show is really a ride for us too. It's like, what the fuck? All right, reasonableness party time. And I don't even know where this is going to go. This might be another one of those spirals. It might be over in 2 minutes. I don't know.
We're declaring war on God.
Yes, that's the party platform. And we lost 10,000. No. We're going to talk political compass a little bit. Before we did the show today, we thought about maybe doing a special on the political compass as far as like us taking it together and taking it with you guys and stuff. But
Zach thought about it.
I did. I threw it at these guys, and they're
We
like,
entertained
whatever. Yeah, it was as important to them as some other crap that was not.
I think it'd be fun,
talked.
actually, to be honest. It'd be cool.
I don't know if it's such a personal thing because the
It is,
political compass.
There's probably a lot of
questions-
people that are like, fuck that, I'm not doing that.
I've only taken it twice, but I think I was pretty consistent.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's not as complicated as obviously the complications of life would make it, but it's a real kind of interesting thing. It gets you pretty close to where you might be. And most of the people, when they take the test, they're like, okay, that makes some sense. But so if people don't know the political compass, everybody knows left and right. Left is big government, right is little government. Then there's up and down. Up is totalitarian, and down is libertarian. And in the grand sense, not the American sense of the libertarians that we always talk about here. But libertarian would be freedom from government. Totalitarian would be complete government up your ass. And actually, I guess that's the flavor of government.
You just fillet the government.
Yes, suck the government's cock. And you can name a lot of governments that like that shit. But we kind of wanted to talk about, if we're the reasonablest party and we have to be a part of government, let's look at all of the options that we could align ourselves with as a party. If we even would want to do such a horrible, fucking terrible, tasteless thing.
I think it'd be great.
Well, let's start with the left. Yeah, you son of a bitch. The contrarian party is the party of...
Sorry, I can't help myself.
It's just, there's three contrarians here, and it's like, how do we even ever agree on anything? Ever.
We don't, but silently we do.
Fair. Now, I'm not going to say I have no idea how many I'm going to miss of these. I mean, we don't know all the spectrums, but in the United States, in the left, people would just say Democrats and Republicans, and that's ridiculous. Because in the Democratic Party, there's all sorts of flavors.
I mean, as far as who you get to vote for that means anything, okay, but
yeah, well, yeah,
those are your options. So
Which
it really
is a
doesn't
whole
matter
other-
what you classify your ideology as. That's what you get to choose from.
right. But
which is a flaw.
Yes, for sure, a huge flaw. But it does, it taints things a little bit, or it influences things. So when we look at the left in the United States, and we won't go into the fringe, where you do have Communist Workers' Party in the United States that's on the ballots in a lot of places. We do have a lot of ideas and stuff like that. We're not going to do the world's political compass and all of the things, but in the United States, the popular stuff, we have I think the furthest to the left, besides the fringe where you have anarchists and communists and Marxists and neo-Marxists and stuff, you have the progressives. And they shouldn't be neo-Marxists if they're progressives, but some people would say that they certainly are. I don't think Bernie Sanders is a Marxist. I think he's read Marx.
All styles come back around eventually, Zach.
For sure. He did honeymoon in the Soviet Union.
To name music genres, quite honestly.
It is, but
there's way too many.
Yeah.
And it's about as important.
Well, let's waste some more of our time.
agree.
Well, okay. Well, then forget it.
Sorry, I'm being...
Forget it. We're done with this
Delete
shit.
the segment.
I don't want it anymore. I'm
being a
taking
cunt.
my fucking drink, and my weed pipe, and my nicotine tube.
Why is that?
Goddamn, I am medicated.
And I'm going into my backyard with my
Welcome to the Just
chickens
a
where
Ride.
there's no government.
Welcome
the
just
fuck
a ride.
home.
I'm Jeff. That's Shaiden.
Well, let's
That's it.
We'll talk to you in the future. Probably not. I think this is where the ride ends.
delete
I think Zach just kicked me out of his head.
off the
Actually.
website.
No, in all seriousness, I think it's the part about that. I mean, if we could go through ad nauseum and name all of the
I want to
little
pick things that
slices
we like about it.
But yeah, so like I think that it's interesting how we could sit here and have this conversation now, and then 5 years from now we could have the same conversation, but the definitions of all of those that we laid out will have shifted.
You said
And there will be
something.
30 more names.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah,
you,
that
you
too,
said something
but-
earlier when we were talking about this before the show, where you've stayed the same for the majority of your life,
More or less,
despite
like core
learning
values
lots of
stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I've grown and some of my opinions have changed, but at the core of me, I'm like, yeah, I'm still more or less. I believe a lot of the same shit that I believed in my earlier 20s, and a lot of it's just gotten refined and more nuanced as it should. But when I was in my earlier 20s, I would have been easily classified, I mean, with some opinions that were wildly off in different directions. If you took the average, I would have been like left to center left, like, and that's how I was like, I didn't know shit about politics back then because I avoided it studiously.
Right.
But I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm I'm liberal because I like things to progress, and I like people to be able to do what they want, and nobody's hurting people, and that's liberal,
Yeah.
And now I don't feel like I've changed a whole lot, but if somebody was to try and classify me now, they'd be like, oh, you're center right-ish,
right?
With some opinions that are center left, and a couple that are hard totalitarian because you don't believe some people should continue to live after they rape children. It's just like
that's just justice there.
You know what I mean? But all of that, this is where I'm kind of going to agree with you, Jeff, where it's just like, yeah, okay, so that further affirms to me that the label, like if you're just going to keep moving the goalpost, or if the goalpost just naturally moves based upon the whims of how society progresses, then we should be focusing on the actual elements of them rather than on the team that you're playing for, because I'm not on anybody's fucking team, you know. People are like, oh, Shaiden, you're a libertarian. I'm like, yeah, I mean, depends on what you mean, first of all, and second of all, I don't know that I am. I like some of their stuff, I like some of the ideology, but I don't like ideologies in general, so I don't know. Right. Quit trying to put me in a box. I'm free.
Exactly. And it's like, have you met a lot of libertarians? Come on. They don't want you anyway.
Hey,
they don't want to hang out together.
I went and played music at one of their conventions, and I didn't like any of them.
I've done that a few times.
And they didn't really like me either.
They don't really like anyone else. It's like, oh, none of us are, okay. They like to stick apart. That's the libertarian motto. Like, we stick apart. Hooray. Get a lot done. Well, okay. I'm not sure why I brought this up. What I kind of wanted to do is like, where does the Reasonablest Party fit in the spectrum of left, right, up, down? If we're going to have government stuff, then I consider our government form the night watchman government, where we have those core things. We have military, and police is local anyway, but we have military, we have a legal system, and we have maybe a State Department or something. Some of the things that we can't figure out. There's no post office, there's no fucking FCC and FDA, and well, maybe an FDA, but State Department. But we'll figure it out. But where on the list? I mean, are we extreme right, libertarian-ish? Are we down on the libertarian?
It's kind of hard to say.
The zero?
I don't know.
Because we're asking for reasonable. Reasonable doesn't mean reasonable right. Reasonable. It's collectively we want reasonable decisions. Reasonable should be the zero.
But you'd think so,
right?
Kind of.
Seems like it would be literal dead center, but
freedom is part of where that slide goes, and freedom from government is what liberty is. And so the smaller government you get, in theory, the more liberties you have. But
and also sitting directly on the fence is not always a reasonable thing to do.
Right.
Like there are some things that you have to take a fucking stance on. So it'd be easy to say, "Oh, Reasonablest Party is dead center," except for this, and this. You know?
Well, economics takes that into account a little bit, because
I guess my idea was more like Lady Justice. She is the balance, but the ultimate decision would be within her decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She holds the scale. She's the level, but she's the one that ultimately makes the decision too.
Okay. So power to the state.
That's what I'm trying to say in the middle.
Right. But the thing about it is, with the middle, we're talking about the political compass is not very good when it comes down to these nuances, because you're either, I mean, there is a spectrum, but you're either pro markets, like liberals are pro market. You're supposed to be pro markets, limited government type folk. But then
classical liberalism, I think,
and even really liberal. I think Democrats and I think most Democrats today are still market people. They just want controls and a more robust welfare system and that kind of thing. But I think, when you get to the the hard left and the hard upper left, the totalitarian left, big government with totalitarian leanings. I mean, you're not even talking about capitalism. You're talking about state capitalism, and so it's hard to be in the center of that, because it's like, I'm for free markets. Like, that is human liberty of cooperating with themselves, and that makes you very small government, and it makes you very libertarian low. So, like, to me, this sounds maybe crazy to people, but I'm crazy out for a second. So to me, it seems like the things that are bad for people are the totalitarian shit. So the more control and kind of force that government has, I want to get as far away from that. So I want to get down on the political compass. And I know this is very rudimentary because the political compass isn't perfect and all that stuff, but we want to get down below the middle line to where freedom is. And then you can be government. You can have big government and have a libertarian left. That's where a lot of Americans don't understand that there's a libertarian left in the world. And it's like, we have government, but it's, very weak. And there's not a lot of laws or rules in your face. There's a lot of industry standards that are the rules and stuff.
No, I think I've brought that up in the past too, where I'm not so staunchly anti-government that I think there should be no form of governance. I'm pretty sure I've said something along those lines on the show before, and I think that's what I was driving at, where it's like I would like to see, if we have a government, I would like to see it be a mechanism that is just like kind of a bare bones scaffolding. Like, this is a system that is in place to handle certain things that are bigger than any one person, and it's a system that we can refine and tweak over time. It's malleable, so we can change it to suit the way that society changes naturally over time. But like you said, it takes care of things, or at least allocates and allows for things like, defense and military and
legal system.
Like some to a certain extent, maybe handling some monetary stuff, but not to the point where it's directing or influencing the market. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd rather decentralize money, but in the history of money, it's, governments can do it for a long time if they were, but
I guess I lean heavily towards decentralization of money too. But I think as far as like keeping track of it and having a history of the trends of it, and like that, like it's more of like a record keeping and accountability type of thing, rather than a we have control over it type of thing. But
that's for taxes.
To get back to the compass thing, I feel like it's going to be impossible for us to look at that compass and go, here sits the reasonablest party, and pick a point, like put a pin in it. When I think about it, I'm like, so all of these ideas, left, right, up, and down, there must be some merit to all of them on some level. Elsewise, they would not exist on a large scale, right? So it's the reasonablest party, to me, by its very nature, would never be able to be placed in a single point on that graph, because it would be like you took paint and splattered it on there, and it just happened to land on all of the good nuggets of every corner of it. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
what
just
it seems
like maybe there's some totalitarianism in how we deal with certain things that we find to be irredeemable, and it's just like, sorry, we draw a hard line on those. But then as far as the free market shit goes, we've got a big old paint splatter down here that's like, yes, as little government as we can possibly get away with, also that, so it's like,
well, that's where the government gets really corrupt. I mean, if we just have, defense is a big industry, and it's huge. So there's going to be corruption in the money of defense, and people are going to want wars that shouldn't want, all that stuff. So we have to deal with that no matter what, if we have a government and a military. But then when you get into the medical industry, and you get into all these industries that we really need education and shit, where it's like, these are the most valuable things that we have. We need them to be the highest quality and the lowest price so everyone can have it. That's what we need. And we never get that with government. So it's like, if they stay out of most business, we will get away with a less corrupt world if we could get that. That's my little shot. That's the same thing as, like, if you want world peace, free trade. Like, you don't bomb the country that gives you blue jeans and things that you want and that you're happy to work with. Like, that just never happens. So free trade is like the pathway to peace. And we've seen it a lot in the 21st century, in the 20th century too, after the worst time period ever, after Vietnam, after bombing the fuck out of that place for decades, or over a decade, a decade later, we're buying blue jeans from them, and we're trading, and we can visit there because of the market. So it's just such a fragile thing historically too, though, because like all it takes to ruin the peace that comes as a byproduct of that is for one fucker that has enough means to go, I like this, I want it to be mine, and I want it to work for me, and then peace starts to go away, and it's like, all it takes is that one fucking domino to fuck it up, so it's like, how do we
and that's why this
could we figure out a way to prevent that? I don't know if we could.
It's fun to try.
That's why all this is theory, but the reality is none of it is exclusive, because a human element. People are fuckers.
That is
really
the most difficult quantity to calculate for.
So this might all just be masturbation, because we're never going to figure out.
It's always been masturbation.
I love masturbation.
It's true, but there's not a lot to show for it.
I've been training for this my whole life, dude.
Just a crusty sock and shame. I don't know. So I guess in some sense it'd be fun over the course of time. Maybe we can pick and choose pieces from the political spectrum just to look at and say, all right, reasonable party for the three of us that are part of the reasonablest party that are sitting here.
We should get a printout of it and keep it in one of our notebooks. And every time we talk about a subject, we should figure out where-ish our stance on it landed on the compass, and then just put like a mark, like a, hey, like those maps where you put a pin. I came from here,
That's
fun.
And
then like
we'll
look at it over
time
time and see if it becomes this interesting.
See if it makes a pattern that actually has like
see
a
if it's
word
like,
in it or numbers.
if it's like the Virgin Mary's face.
Exactly. Mary had a fucking crack.
We found proof of God.
We knew we would do it. How?
The Vatican, people from the Vatican are going to have to show up.
Yeah.
Exclude it.
We could have the Pope on our podcast. It'd be like, we'll give it up, but the Pope has to come talk to us on Just Right.
That's the stipulation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We'll have to revisit this sometime. I think the political compass will be something fun to just touch on as we go through this. But I don't think we personally need to do our political compass publicly. But what we could do is read it aloud. It's kind of a extensive thing. We'll probably take we could do that in a future podcast, and the listener at home can kind of take it. But it's best to take it, do the questions while you're doing it.
So for anybody who might be listening that doesn't know what the fuck this compass we're talking about is, tell them how to find it. Tell them how to figure that out.
Just type in political compass test in the Google device and you will find it. But it is, it is probably 5 or 6 different subject matter questions. So it's broken up into 6 different parts, and it'll be economic, it'll be religious, it'll be, questions will be like from each his ability to each their need kind of thing. Is that good or bad? And it'll give you like extreme yes or extreme no, and then 3 in the middle kind of thing. And through that, it just does it's a graph. So it's like it'll give you little points on the up and the down, the X and the Y kind of thing.
And when I did it, it had like,
it was like
the most of you is here, but also you have some here and a little bit here and over here, So as far as where my compass, where I landed on the compass.
So just like what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you might be very...
I've been a reasonableist from the beginning, baby.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of people that call themselves libertarian would say that they're fiscally conservative and that they're socially liberal. And the modern nomenclature, that is probably true. Like liberals are more good with drugs and allowing you to be kind of weird and have your purple hair and all that shit, and they're more individualistic in that route. But then the right is, they want you to keep your money and they want you to fucking have your private property and you can be left the fuck alone, kinda. I don't see the Republicans as leave people alone people.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to do. It doesn't take too super long, and I've had friends of mine do it in the past who thought they were one thing politically, and then because they were able to sit down without any pressure or anybody telling them what the party line is, they were able to just sit down and answer these questions from their gut. They were like, oh, I didn't really actually feel the way about that I've been saying that I do. I've just been saying it. And they were surprised by they were like, really?
Yeah.
What's interesting is that then sometimes forces people to start looking further into their beliefs, and ultimately they change their mind a lot of times.
Yeah. Or you'll get an extreme sense of validation.
Right.
Which is also possible.
What's funny is that this is all just one big family fight. Because conservatives are liberal.
It's like that awful Thanksgiving dinner that just never ends. Or you're just like, oh, fucking Aunt Susan's drunk and she won't stop talking shit, and Grandma's mad about it, and Dad just wants to leave.
Right. Because the whole
Uncle Bob's out there smoking pot with the 16-year-olds.
Always Uncle Bob with the 16-year-olds. We don't like Uncle Bob. All right. Well, that's enough for, I think, this time on the spectrum and all that good stuff for the political stuff.
Get off the ride.
We'll try and find out where we're
on it for 3 cycles. You have to get off.
It's time for advice, I think, you guys. This one's from you, Jeff. It's when facts often justify beliefs, or no, facts are often just beliefs. Was a point that we were talking about. I wrote it down stupid. Can often be just beliefs. Does that ring a bell?
You read it stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
I did. I read it stupid. I remembered it stupid. I'm stupid.
Again, I guess it's just pretty much more what we've...
I'm drinking and smoking pot, and so sorry. This is my chill day, guys. Come on, fuck you. Come on.
I just realized that even in my own head, so many things that I thought about it as facts. I recognize it's like, is that a fact?
Right.
It's what I believe. It's what I heard, maybe. now you can do so much investigation. I don't think you should pull out the Google machines on everything. First off, I don't always trust the Google machines.
Sure.
And, you know, a lot of information does come across logically, but you have to do some sort of amount of research in life, whether it be looking it up through sources that you read or go experience some things for yourself. But make sure that what you're talking about, understand that what you're talking about mostly in life is an opinion.
Yeah.
It's an opinion. It's a belief based on your principles and your standards.
It's often a borrowed opinion too.
Yeah, and
really
and that's it.
down.
A lot of times you're just repeating shit that you heard, and it's you've been able to rationalize it in your head. So don't get so damn mad at somebody else if they don't agree with you. Settle down.
And that's not to say that you can't borrow opinions from your peers or from people that you were like, whoa, that person's way more intellectual than I am. I'll probably take their word for that.
Or they did the work or whatever.
That in and of itself is fine, so long as you remain open to having your mind changed when you encounter further information. You know what I mean? Remember that it's an opinion that you borrowed, not something that you dedicated hours and hours of research to arrive at your own conclusion at.
The people's opinions or information that I receive generally that I tend to just fairly openly agree with are people that I know that do a lot of research. Mm-hmm. You know, you two people are two of those people in my life. So I will tend to believe you. And you'll be honest if you don't actually know something. You're like, I don't know, but I think it's this.
I mostly just research space.
Right.
It's less troublesome amongst the people.
You know, but there's also other people that, you know, if they say something, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to check that out myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about how many things are really faith-based. You know, all the politics stuff, all the economic stuff that we talk about. It's like, this study says this. It's like, yeah, but that interpretation of that study was done by a few people that peer reviewed it or something, or who knows how many. Right. And they are there. They went to this college and they went to this professor, and that professor hates this whole ideology. You don't know that, but here's their paper and it's peer reviewed by other people. You know,
that's a prime example of what we've talked about, where the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like when you start really looking at all the variables of stuff, it's like, oh fuck, how can I believe anything? And that's honestly a good place to be, in my opinion. You know, because like the less certain you are of yourself, the more valuable of a human being I think you become.
That didn't really come across as anything different though. It ended up tying into what we kind of staggered down anyway.
Well, it was perfect then.
It was a good prompt for what we just. Facts are often just beliefs. I think that's a lot true. Now we're going to segue to this one. This is for against the girls and the boys, for shallow people. This is fuck this thing, and it's shallow people. So this one is girls and their attraction to men for money, and boys and their attraction to women for looks.
Yeah. And
this is Shaiden brought this to our attention.
Really, say no more. It's just like I started.
Fuck those people that like pretty things. And
I started.
Fuck people that like pretty and money and.
I don't want to live in a nice house with an attractive human.
Sorry,
you, Shaiden.
Go ahead, Shaiden. I'm gonna stop.
That's I feel like that's kind of an endearing part of this whole segment. Every time it's like, let's say an idea and then let's shit on it and then let's actually talk about it.
Yes. Fuck your idea. Now dig in.
No, it's I watch a lot of these compilations on YouTube of like people in street interviews or on pop culture podcasts and stuff, and it's like a very, very
like the gold digger shit.
It's very kind of, but like in a sense, but not necessarily like young girls looking for old dudes with money. Just literally any dude with lots of money. But I see this trend where, you know, girls are like being asked by guys, what's the number one red flag about a guy, or what's the number one thing that makes you attracted to a guy? And it's like a ton of the time money is like, a guy with money, you know, what does he do? What can he do for me? And then same deal turned around to guys, and it's just like, how hot is she?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? You don't care what she's bringing to the table, except for this thing that's not gonna last. Like, hate to break it to you, but like, beauty goes away sometimes quicker than you think it will. Like,
and if their personality is developed around their beauty, look out. That's going to be a short marriage or a really long marriage. Yeah.
Not to mention if on both sides, if those are the things that you're looking for first and foremost, you don't have any business being in a relationship in the first place.
I'd recommend to
go back to the bench.
Don't get me wrong. I look for pretty. I mean, never once have I said, I saw you from across the room and I thought you had a beautiful mind. No, I'm thinking, man, your tits and ass look great. I'm going to have a conversation with you. And then go from there. So attraction does come into it.
Absolutely. It's a factor. And so is the money thing, you know, because like if you're looking for a relationship, ideally what you're really looking for is a partner. And you want to know that your partner is bringing something to the table, right? They're contributing something. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, so money is a factor on both sides, as a matter of fact. Looks is a factor on both sides, as a matter of fact.
Like a peacock, baby.
But if that is the first and foremost thing that you're looking for, you're not ready. Go home.
Right.
Go home and figure yourself out a little bit more. And like both of those things, like I said, they're impermanent. You know, you could have money one day and something will happen and there goes the money.
Right.
You lost that job. You got in a big accident and now you're drowning in medical bills, you know, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Like that shit goes away. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying is fuck people that are really pushing hard to be in a relationship day in and day out, and they haven't grown enough to even know what the basis of a good relationship is.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like
fair.
just grow up a little and then try again.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, money, like, I guess deep down the genes are driving a lot of this stuff, right? Like, what are our instincts? It's like our genes driving to procreate, to put our genes into the future. We want another generation of our fucking genes.
More of me
is what the world
One
needs.
is just not enough.
Right. And so, I mean, I think of a female that's going to create life. They're looking for, like, I want this life that I'm going to make to fucking live, period. That's priority number one. What's the number one thing that a man can do for my progeny, for my chitrons?
Create stability.
Yeah, is create a fucking armed fucking castle around my children. And that's literally some of the things that have driven, that in the past. And for men, it's like, I don't know. I would think it has to do with...
It's a little bit status. It's how you're viewed by your peers.
I think there's a lot of prize parading.
Yeah.
Yeah, so men look at women like a fucking item. Like is that what I'm...
Yeah, that's what I'm driving at too.
But also maybe
that's like...
It goes both ways though, too.
Do men think about, like...
I think do it a lot more. Sorry.
I wonder if men and women, they think about when they make their mate, do they think about, like, what are my children going to look like? Do you guys... think of that, like, I want to date her because wow, she's pretty and she's got this and I'd love to have...
Well, I mean, I never wanted to have kids personally.
I've got a cousin and his wife, they both had red hair. I'm sure he thinks about what his kid is going to look like because it comes out with, brown hair is probably going to be a problem. They're both red.
Right.
They're both red hair, blue eyed. So
there's genes.
The red hair gene is recessive.
Yeah,
so it could be if anybody else on either side of their family doesn't have red hair, literally anywhere, you never know.
Right.
There's some plausible deniability on that one. That's all I'm saying.
Really, I didn't know. I honestly did not know that.
Really?
I thought if it was two reds, you were going to get a red. That's just the way it goes.
There's a higher probability, but yeah, if there's other members of your family that aren't ginger,
you said
I did not know that.
To say ginger? I love ginger.
My truth has changed.
One of my best friends is a ginger, and I remind her all the time.
I at least respect your opinion, and you're probably telling me the truth. So.
Well, you should go look into it for yourself.
I think I will, because now I want to know.
So, well, I like the idea of fuck shallow people.
But don't literally, because that could get you into 18 years of unfortunate situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, it has cost me a lot of money in my life. So
yeah. Well,
by extension, if you can avoid having a kid or kids with the wrong person, maybe try to do that. Yes. I think that's solid advice.
I don't know.
The problem. I saw the shallow people, and I tried to give them depth in their life.
As a guy, if you have money as a guy,
cheesy, huh? You like that?
I was just trying really hard not to ruin your cheesy moment with the sex joke.
Actually, if you have money, try not to find. I'm over here like talking to the
Zach's still trying to be philosophical. We're just like, dick jokes.
We'll get you back. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I have nothing. I'm going to add to this.
That was Jeff's proverbial shot to the nuts for all the time we interrupt his ideas with our bullshit.
For sure.
No gloves. I raw dogged it.
If you have money, ball bag. Maybe look for somebody that doesn't need you. Like maybe that's obviously just it's going to be random who you meet in the world and stuff. But if one of their fundamental things is like they don't need me, that's a kind of a good feeling. If you have money, then you can be like, okay, so that's not the motivation of being with me.
That's a hugely attractive thing to me historically is somebody who doesn't need me but wants me anyway.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, because then I know, you're not with me because you want this thing from me, or you want me to provide this utility
you're fine on your own.
in your
You don't
life.
need-
Like, you're doing fine, you know, and like, that's where it kind of breaks down, because there's this whole group of guys now that are like, you know, oh, guys aren't attracted to independent women because guys are like naturally want to be providers, and like there's some truth to that for some guys, but for me, if I'm going to go to the trouble of being in a relationship with somebody and trying to have that partnership,
Team,
yeah, we're a fucking team, and I want you to be stepping up and kicking ass. It doesn't have to be the same thing I'm doing. I hope it isn't. I hope you have your own shit that you're kicking ass at, but you should have your own fucking passions. You should have your own fucking ideas. You should have your own fucking resources, and we should be pooling our resources to achieve better results for both of us. You know,
Yeah,
that's a relationship.
and two people need to work really hard to try and make it so they can, when they're old and nobody will hire them anymore, that they can still sustain a comfortable life. It's like, we got to work hard and make like $4 or $5 million to save this shit, or else we're gonna really be sad.
And also have a lot of really great sex and cool adventures along the way.
And that's why the sandbox can be a good time. It can be fun in the sandbox of life. All right. Well, yeah. And what do you do when you're a really attractive person? Like, how do you know that they're not in it for looks? And or should it even matter?
How many attractive people really know that they feel that they're attractive? I mean, everybody sabotages themselves.
Yeah.
So I think more times than not, you're not going to have somebody that is genuinely more than not attractive to the whole population who thinks they're actually that attractive.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends, because I've seen that where, you know, I've known a guy in my life actually that's this way, and I've seen plenty of girls that are this way, where they're convinced by their peers or by enough, you know, positive experiences over the time. They're like, oh, if I must be hot, like I can get with it. Like, people are always trying to get with me, so I must be hot. You know, even if they don't see themselves that way, they start to believe it, and then they start kind of wielding it as a bit of a weapon, or as a manipulation sort of a thing, or they start to become entitled to where they're like, wow, I could have anybody I want, so I should be allowed to get anything I want too. You know? And it's just like, okay.
Or they're starting to experience that, and they like it, so they expect it more too.
Right.
So
yeah. So
it's corrupting that shit, man.
Good, important to remain self-aware.
It can be used as a weapon just as much as somebody may, you know, want that just their looks. A lot of times it can be used as a weapon both ways too.
For sure.
So.
For sure.
Fuck yeah. There's all sorts of studies that show, I mean...
You can use that as a weapon to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of con artists are a pretty face. A lot of con artists come in there with a nice smile and a real, you know, it's... For men, it's really good to just have charisma. That's
I only know a lot of rich guys without a hot wife, so...
There is there is that. But how great are all their marriages?
Well, how great are most people's marriages?
I know a lot of really great guys with a lot of really great females that are also beautiful, I guess. So, you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah,
I can't imagine thinking like...
It's kind of more to my point. Like, looks, do they matter? Yes. Yeah. Are they the foundation for anything important? No.
Good sex.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, at least as far as visually to look at. Better chances on Pornhub, I guess.
But the thing is
although
what attracts you...
I will say, anybody can get on Pornhub. Truly. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. But what initially, what attracted me to my wife was my wife's face, and you know, her body that I saw from a long ways away, from, you know, across the room and stuff. And then it became like, oh, there's lots of pretty faces in the world and stuff. But then her face became the most beautiful because of all the stuff that came out of her mouth and her kindness and her, you know, brain and shit.
If she had the same face,
the most beautiful thing I've ever
then you
seen
got to
in my
know
life.
her and she was an awful person,
right?
Then the face would have started to matter less, I'd wager.
Yeah. And I guess...
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. But who knows?
I don't know anybody that
most of my life I've been super
banging
shallow.
a dumb person, right? It's like, oh my God, they wouldn't do that.
I don't know. I wasn't that promiscuous of a man. I didn't roll through life just with my dick in every hole, Jeff.
Sorry.
Good on you, mate.
No.
You should have.
What's that?
You should have.
Jeff, you should have gone out there and got a whole bunch more sex, buddy.
I'm not judging you either, buddy. Because I mean, I think Will Chamberlain wrote a book about 10,000, and I think all the guys in America at that time were like, yeah.
I'm gonna call bullshit, but just
what on the 10,000?
What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
What do you guys think? I mean, as so presume that neither one of you was in a relationship. I know is hard, but presume that you
You can
weren't.
see under the table? I
How
didn't see-
much? How much does the body count matter to you in somebody that you're seeing?
Oh, this
I
is-
don't give a fuck.
So
I
Jeff-
genuinely
Jeff
don't
doesn't care.
No, because
the more the merrier.
Not at all.
Look,
so
here's the-
so 20 guys don't care.
No, listen to
100
this.
guys?
Here's the deal. If
500
had she not been such a
10,000.
cock monster, it would not have led her to my cock, which is now the preferred one. And right now, I'm on the top of the food chain. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
she
That's a lot of
has probably
DNA
learned
that's
lots
now
of amazing skills. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Why do I have the right to judge somebody for that? I don't want to be judged.
Yeah, but you don't have the.
What if
you do
what
have
if
the right
your
to
body
judge
count?
people.
What if your body count was 2? Do you think it would
Be a
matter
bit
more?
intimidated, I'd say. Teach me.
I can't answer that because that's not the answer. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Hypothetical,
I don't
bro.
This is all hypothetical for
I
me.
can't
I
hypothetical.
don't necessarily disagree with you. I think if you're choosing to be in a relationship with somebody, then
I think
the stuff that happened in their life before is noteworthy. But I don't know that something like that, like take them for the person they are today, and all that shit played a part in making them who they are.
That's
So
exactly.
if you like them the way that they are, then it probably doesn't matter that much. But I kind of get the other side of the argument too, where it's like, whew, like, am I like, okay, so if you've been with 30, 40 guys before me, am I just lucky number 41? Am I just the next in line? You know what I
you're
mean?
jealous
if
of the
you've been
past,
with
that's not
30,
a good
40
vibe,
women
yeah.
before her, is it different? It's a bullshit argument. No, I say I don't give a fuck. It makes the person who they are. And who am I to judge what they did at any moment before they did me and involved in my life? That's a cunt thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I'm playing devil's advocate,
Yeah,
but
no, I know you are.
I agree, and I know you know that I
I know
agree
you
because
do.
we've had this conversation behind closed doors. But it's one of those things, right?
You're
like
fighting
I
jealousy,
take
you know?
it's in jealousy is a poor quality. It serves a purpose, but its purpose is not meant to be expressed outwardly. In my
But it's
opinion,
a chemical
you know?
inside you that you're like, damn it, it's in me. Shit.
Anybody
Yeah,
who
no,
says
see-
they don't feel jealous ever is lying.
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
a
it
fucking
happens.
liar.
Here's the thing.
I'm not a jealous person, and I say that, but it's because I choose not to act upon my jealousy, and I've spent a lot of time sitting with it when I do feel it, and I rationalize it, and I'm like, okay, what's really making me feel this way? Is it this person and their behavior that's making me feel this way, or is it my insecurity that's
Yeah,
making me
my
feel this way?
imagination.
Is it some combination of the two? Is there something I can do to address this, or is it something that I just need to get the fuck over in this instance? You know,
I would say every time there's something that I can do to make that difference, an adjustment in my own mind. Yeah,
well, the only thing you can control is you. So
Right,
that's,
right.
that's the appropriate response. I
Yeah,
think.
so I just really don't.
Not how you feel, only
I don't
how
live a
you act,
life.
yeah.
I don't live a life where jealousy is an issue. So, but I've been in those relationships. I've been the attack of jealousy before, where I was not doing anything. It didn't matter what the fuck I did. She was jealous of it or accusatory. And that's a shitty place to be. That was never my problem. That's her problem. So jealousy is generally a self problem. It's your emotion.
I
It's
agree.
your feelings.
It's your
for you.
responsibility
Yeah, for you to
to
handle it.
deal with that shit. I
So to be
completely
jealous
agree.
over what somebody did before they met you. Look, like I said,
You weren't
the fact that she's a cock connoisseur led her directly to you. Fantastic. You get the queen of cock. That's great. Good. I'm good with that.
And the converse of that, you know, you've had a lot of, so she gets the king of cock or king of vagine.
Yeah, and it would be, you know, anybody judging me would be wrong too.
It sounds like an exotic country, Vagine. he's the prince of Vagine.
That's what they call
Or a
that down in
car.
Virginia.
It's a European car. That's the Vagine S1. It's really kind of fast. All right, that's our fuck this thing. So I guess shallow people, that took us all over the
Yeah.
place again.
And-
this is a ride today. This is doing
and
loop-de-loops.
unmanaged jealousy, apparently.
Yeah.
Too.
that goes
Shaden's
hand in
got
hand with
issues,
that.
is what I'm saying.
Shaden's dealing with the
I
issues.
am a walking ball of issues.
So Shaiden heard a number and he got bent out of shape and he's dealing with it, is what we're saying.
Well,
no,
Shaden-
I sincerely don't care either.
I know.
I take people as they come. You know, like from whatever your ground zero is with me, I evaluate you from there. When I learn about your past, it will shape some of my opinions of you.
Yeah.
But if my opinion of you remains positive after learning about your past, whatever it is, then fuck it. I wasn't there. If I like the person that it turned you into, why am I going to be like, ooh, I wish you wouldn't have done that? Because then maybe you wouldn't be the person that I just decided I like.
Right.
You know? So
Fair enough, dude.
that's my real stance on it.
I don't date whores. Nobody asked me, just saying. So, wait, I don't know. No, I don't care. I'm just like you guys. I really don't care what people do with their past. But
somebody told me in my 20s, they were like, dude, when you get older, you're gonna realize sooner or later that everybody's fucking everybody. And I kind of laughed, like I was like, oh, this person's had a rough ride or something. But like the older I've got, I'm like, there's some fucking definite truth to that.
You want to see an orgy? Go to a retirement home.
Oh man,
they are fucking each other, dude.
Too far.
It is just like lines of Viagra.
Turn his mic off.
He's right though. There's more like venereal diseases passing through.
They're just chugging Ensure, snorting Viagra, sneaking in each other's rooms at night, sharing each other's clothes and shit.
This is honestly news to me, and that's amazing.
Things I learned.
Good for them.
All right, this is Things I Learned. This is our last segment of the day, gentlemen. And this one is we learned that the daylight savings. Now, one might think that a farm thing would be,
That's what I thought. This was my shovel dick.
This shovel dicked it himself.
Not as embarrassing, but equally as wrong.
Very minimal compared to the actual shovel dick. You are correct. But daylight savings, tell us how we were wrong, though. This is so interesting. Jeff knew it.
Jeff was like way closer. Like it wasn't like spot on, we found out, but his knowledge of it was way closer than mine. I thought it was a farming thing. I was like, oh, they did it for farmers to give them more usable hours of daylight at a more reasonable hour, and it doesn't make sense anymore because all the farms have these big commercial lighting rigs that like it could be any time of the day and they can farm their asses
satellites
off,
and shit.
Yeah.
And even back in the day, it seemed unreasonable to think that a farmer was so lazy that he wouldn't get his ass up an hour earlier to get his job done.
Right. It's not the farmer's MO, no.
Yeah, they work.
People in agriculture, they work by the cycles of the natural world. So like whatever time the clock says is irrelevant. The sun comes up when the sun fucking comes up, and that's when you go milk the cows.
Yeah. What does the clock say? Don't care. The sun says something. The rooster said something.
So yeah, we confirmed not the farming thing. Jeff thought it was a World War I thing for what did you say, for like trying to confuse the timing of bombings?
Yeah, it had something to do. I thought it had to do with like if there was any intelligence that was leaked, they would at least be an hour off in any of our actions, which didn't seem right to me because, I mean, obviously it's a different time over there than it is here. I guess the thought would be that they're all basing it on American time.
It just makes it a little bit less
so it seemed
precise.
Odd,
and but it still was fucking right there.
Pretty close, yeah. And that was like 4th grade, I heard that. But maybe I didn't remember it right. I added my own shit to it.
It was a lot closer than my farming thing, which it did say that the farming thing is a very common myth, but
seems intuitive.
But it's not true. There's a couple of stories, but it was like the early 1900s is when daylight savings time was first implemented in the United States. With the Standard Time Act of 1918, and it was a wartime measure for 7 months during World War I in the interest of adding more daylight hours to conserve energy resources. Year-round daylight savings time, or wartime, which is what it was originally called, was implemented again during World War II, and it's just still fucking hanging out.
And guess what? The Reasonablest Party, not having it.
No,
nope.
Down with daylight savings time.
I also think we should do military time up.
Absolutely.
Fucking A. Reasonablest Party.
Yes.
Military time.
Military time makes more sense.
Well, and it's kind of, I mean, honestly, we're the Reasonablest Party isn't too far off as far as our philosophy goes from what it is now, because after the war, local jurisdictions are free to choose if and when they observe daylight savings time. So it's really like, because there's states that do and states that don't, and it's
we're forcing with the power of government. No,
you are not allowed.
Also, the metric system's coming back. We're bringing it here.
We're going to put a little pin up in the totalitarian zone of this aspect of our
that's right,
our platform.
Let's hope there's only a couple little
daylight savings time is outlawed.
Outlawed.
We will stone you in front of the temple.
We don't want to fucking hear about it. Not even in the books.
But yeah. So pretty interesting to learn that I was completely up my ass about what I thought the origin of daylight savings time was, but it was just a wartime tool that we just decided to keep fucking hanging on to.
And the wartime tool was just to give more time in the day to fight people.
Yeah, more or less for
or
more efficient use of energy resources.
Yeah. So weird how these things work. All right. Well, that's
And the guy that invented it, George Hudson, I found a picture of him on Wikipedia, and he looks like a stud.
He's a handsome son of a bitch.
Yeah, he
He's a
gave.
toughie.
I could see if he was the one trying to convince me that we needed to do it, I'd probably be like, yes, sir.
Hell
You
yeah.
don't believe me? Go look him up. He's got a very snazzy mustache and one of those short, stiff, standing-up collars.
Would you let him pinch your tushy?
I
He's
might.
got a nice head of hair, yeah?
Yeah, he's got it. Well, it's very cleanly groomed.
You shallow cunts. We were just saying fuck this to shallow cunts. Look at you. They're drooling over this.
Looks
man.
matter. He's got like
They're
he's got
drooling.
No,
that.
he just looks like a badass from that era. I mean,
He's got that squint, that perpetual squint going on,
Oh,
like Sam
the Clint-
Elliott
the
does, you
Clint
know? Yeah,
Eastwood,
Clint
yeah.
Eastwood too.
Astigmatism.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time seeing you.
he was actually having a stroke when his photograph was taken.
Clint Eastwood was reading his cue cards. What the fuck's that? All right. This is episode 22 of
Holy
the Just
shit.
Right podcast.
We did it.
I've been the P-Baw,
I've been the Poobah.
And I am the bear ball.
and we've had fun. JustARidePod@gmail.com is how you reach us.
And we have a fucking Patreon.
And you can get on there and Patreon the fuck up.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, in the spirit of what I think all of us really want out of this, if you want to show us some support and keep doing what we're doing, just share the show with your friends.
Yep.
Share it with people, like, because we'd rather have more people hanging out, listening, participating.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to toss us some Patreon stuff,
Toss a
super
coin to your
super fucking grateful always. But really, if you want to help us out, just share it with your friends.
Patreon money
Share it
helps
with
us
people
do
you
more
don't like.
things. So,
Yeah.
If you hated today's episode, share it with someone that you hate.
Yes. That makes sense.
Right?
That makes perfect sense. They'll like it. All right. Well, yeah, that's all we have for you. SKATCAST.com for more shit like this and wherever you are. Thank you to our trusted turd triad, Don the Shitbox Wizard, Don Fisher.
Shit, yeah.
Always doing that shit. The Discord Dookie Slayer, you guys are in Discord a lot, so you guys are hanging out with Chris all the time.
We hang with the Dukes for sure.
Yeah, and then also to Bodie, the quartermaster. He sent me a nice letter this morning.
Bodie sent me a picture of a really freaky looking bird on
Nice.
Discord, and I had seen it before, and I was like, yeah, the sound that it makes, though. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're gonna go on the Discord and look. But find this bird.
What does the
it's called?
birds?
It's called the nightjar.
Nightjar.
Something nightjar. It's got
We
a
learned it.
huge fucking mouth, and the sound it makes is horrifying. You're welcome. And thank you so much to the people who have already hopped onto our Patreon to become patrons. We love you guys so much. Shout out to Nicole Ty Cobb Apodaca. Shout out to Lynn Hoagland. Shout out to Kyle and to Deja Arnold. You guys, you're our early risers. You are our first aces in the hole. You guys are you came in clutch. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate that.
And with that, we'll talk at you in the future.
It'll seem like the present.
get the fuck out of my car.
Get out of the car.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bing.
Bong. Ooh, that was like a short and sweet one.
Perfect.